Beneath the sun-scorched hills and winding valleys of Palestine, secrets lie buried. Ancient echoes of faith, devotion, and untold stories that have survived millennia. Places whispered about in sacred texts, where prophets walked and miracles unfolded, still stand today, hidden, overlooked, yet profoundly powerful. What truths do these sacred sites hold? What mysteries have remained untouched by time? In the shadows of forgotten ruins and beneath layers of history, the past beckons. So sit back, relax, and let's dive into 3 hours of hidden biblical locations that still exist, revealing wonders that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew. Perched on the rugged cliffs overlooking the northern shores of the Dead Sea, Qumran rises from the desert like a silent sentinel of history. The pale limestone walls catch the early morning sun, casting long shadows across the arid terrain. Wind sweeps through narrow crevices, carrying grains of sand that seem to whisper stories long forgotten. At first glance, it is a place of desolation, crumbling ruins, terraces etched into the cliffs, and fragments of stone that hint at human habitation. Yet beneath this apparent barrenness lies a profound legacy, one that continues to captivate scholars, theologians, and seekers of the mysterious alike. Qumran is most famous as the site connected to the Dead Sea Scrolls, a collection of ancient texts discovered in nearby caves in the mid-20th century. These manuscripts, some dating as far back as the 3rd century BC, include fragments of nearly every book of the Hebrew Bible, as well as sectarian writings that reveal the beliefs, laws, and expectations of a particular Jewish community living at the edge of the desert. The ruins themselves, stone cisterns, communal halls, ritual baths, paint a picture of a disciplined, devout group. Were they Essenes, as many scholars suggest, living in self-imposed isolation to preserve their faith and purity? Or could they have been something else entirely, a sect whose full story remains partially obscured by time? As you move through the remains, the air seems charged with an almost tangible silence. Small alcoves in the cliffs above the ruins, now empty, once held scrolls so delicate that the slightest disturbance might have destroyed them. How were these texts preserved for centuries in near-perfect condition? Some propose that the climate and the salt-laden air of the desert acted as a natural safeguard. Others wonder if there were hidden techniques, lost to history, employed by the inhabitants to protect sacred writings. The very act of survival in such a harsh environment raises questions about the community's daily life. How did they source water? What rituals governed their existence? And what drove them to inscribe their beliefs onto fragile parchment with such meticulous care? The landscape around Qumran is itself enigmatic. Craggy cliffs, narrow ravines, and hidden caves create a labyrinthine terrain, almost as if designed to guard the secrets of those who lived here. Archaeologists have uncovered pottery fragments, coins, and tools, yet many aspects of the site remain puzzling. Some caves contained jars filled with scrolls. Others yielded nothing, sparking speculation about what might have once existed but vanished. Were these empty spaces merely storage overlooked by chance? Or did they serve a more symbolic, ritualistic purpose? Speculative theories abound. Could Qumran have been more than a religious settlement? A repository for esoteric knowledge, perhaps? Or a center of mystical learning whose teachings went unrecorded in mainstream texts? Some suggest connections to lost prophetic traditions, or even hidden knowledge of celestial or cosmological significance, ideas that tantalize the imagination without ever demanding belief. The ruins and the scrolls provoke the same essential question. What drives a community to create and safeguard wisdom at the edge of the known world? Walking through the remains today, one senses both the weight of history and the pull of mystery. The desert winds carry more than sand. They carry echoes of chants, of scribes bending over ink-stained scrolls, of countless prayers and contemplations long since silenced, even after decades of excavation, study, and preservation. Qumran does not yield all its secrets. It invites the visitor to pause, to imagine, to wonder what has been lost, and what, perhaps, still lies hidden beneath layers of rock and sand. And so, we are left with questions as profound as the cliffs themselves. Who truly inhabited this place? What truths did they inscribe in those fragile scrolls? And what mysteries of faith, ritual, and daily life remain concealed, waiting for the curious and the patient to uncover them? Qumran endures, silent yet eloquent, as both a monument of devotion and a puzzle that continues to challenge our understanding. Emerging from the wind-swept ruins of Qumran, our journey leads us deeper into the heart of one of the most extraordinary archaeological discoveries of the modern era, the Dead Sea Scrolls. Nestled within hidden caves along the northern shores of the Dead Sea in Palestine, these ancient manuscripts rest quietly in the shadows, as if waiting for the curious eye to uncover their secrets. The rugged cliffs above seem almost protective, a natural fortress shielding texts that have survived over 2 millennia. The sun glints off fragments of parchment and leather, their surfaces brittle yet remarkably intact, whispering of lives dedicated to faith, study, and preservation. Discovered in a series of caves beginning in 1947, the scrolls immediately captured global attention. They include nearly every book of the Hebrew Bible, alongside apocryphal writings and sectarian texts that reveal the practices and beliefs of a distinct Jewish community living in the desert as early as the 3rd century BC. Scholars have meticulously cataloged hundreds of scrolls and fragments, yet even today, the full meaning of these documents continues to provoke debate. How did such fragile materials survive the harsh climate of the Judean desert, with its scorching days and bitterly cold nights? Were the inhabitants of Qumran exceptionally skilled in preservation, or was this endurance a stroke of chance guided by providence? The scrolls themselves are remarkable in both their craftsmanship and their content. The delicate strokes of ink on leather and parchment carry laws, prophecies, hymns, and interpretations of Scripture. Some texts mirror passages familiar from the Hebrew Bible, while others diverge, revealing alternate readings or previously unknown traditions. What prompted these variations? Were they deliberate reinterpretations, errors, or glimpses of a different spiritual path long forgotten? Each fragment is a portal to the minds and hearts of those who once read, wrote, and treasured them. Yet the Dead Sea Scrolls are more than historical artifacts. They are windows into a way of life that straddled devotion and isolation. The community that produced them, possibly Essenes as many scholars suggest, lived in a world sharply divided between ritual purity and the encroaching complexities of a broader society. Their lives were structured, disciplined, and intimately tied to Scripture. But what drove them to seclude themselves in the cliffs and caves of the Judean wilderness? Was it purely religious devotion, or did they possess knowledge or traditions deemed too sacred to risk in the outside world? The caves themselves add an additional layer of mystery. Some contained dozens of scrolls carefully stored in jars. Others were empty, their silence as enigmatic as the preserved texts. Why were certain scrolls hidden in specific locations? Were the empty caves ever used, or did they serve a symbolic purpose? Perhaps marking sacred thresholds or areas of ritual significance. The labyrinthine network of cliffs and crevices around Qumran seems almost designed to protect these treasures, as if the desert itself were a guardian of hidden wisdom. Speculative theories abound, both scholarly and fringe, offering tantalizing possibilities. Some suggest that the scrolls hold secret knowledge about messianic prophecies or alternative interpretations of Scripture that challenge traditional understandings. Others propose that the scrolls contain encoded messages about celestial events, mystical teachings, or ancient cosmologies that have yet to be fully deciphered. While mainstream scholarship focuses on historical context and linguistic analysis, the sheer survival and scope of the texts leave room for questions that cannot be easily dismissed. Could there be scrolls still undiscovered, waiting in hidden caves to reveal truths long concealed from the world? Handling the scrolls today is an exercise in reverence and caution. Scholars work with gloves and specialized tools, preserving fragments with painstaking precision. Digital imaging, multispectral photography, and chemical analysis allow for insights that were unimaginable just decades ago. Yet even with these tools, mysteries remain. Why do some texts perfectly mirror known scriptures, while others present starkly different versions? What can these variations tell us about the diversity of belief in ancient Palestine, or about how communities grappled with sacred law and moral guidance? The cultural and religious significance of the Dead Sea Scrolls cannot be overstated. They provide the earliest evidence of written scripture in existence, offering insight into how sacred texts were compiled, transmitted, and interpreted. They illuminate the spiritual life of a people deeply committed to their faith, yet living on the margins of history. Yet for every answer, new questions arise. Why did this community dedicate itself so fully to preserving knowledge in a hostile desert environment? What events led to the abandonment of the scrolls and the caves, leaving them hidden for centuries? As we trace the edges of these fragile manuscripts, one cannot help but sense the weight of time pressing down and the quiet presence of human devotion that shaped them. The inked letters, faded yet resilient, feel almost alive, connecting us to individuals who, like us, sought meaning, order, and understanding in a complex world. Were these scribes simply devoted scholars or custodians of wisdom meant to endure beyond their own lifetimes? What inspired the meticulous care and profound dedication evident in every scroll? Even after decades of study, the Dead Sea Scrolls continue to challenge our understanding. They are a bridge to the past, a record of human devotion, and a reminder that much of history remains shrouded in mystery. The questions they raise, about the people who wrote them, the beliefs they preserved, and the wisdom that might still lie hidden in the cliffs and caves of Palestine, invite us to look deeper, to wonder, and to imagine. And so, as we step back from the caves and scrolls, the silence lingers. The wind sweeps across the arid cliffs, carrying the echoes of ancient voices. The Dead Sea Scrolls, preserved against the odds, remain a testament to human devotion and a puzzle still waiting to be fully solved. What other secrets might lie buried, waiting in the shadows of these ancient caves? What stories yet untold might emerge to challenge or enrich our understanding of faith, history, and the enduring power of the written word? As we linger on the fragile fragments of the Dead Sea Scrolls, the question naturally arises: who were the people behind these texts? The answer, long debated by historians and scholars, often points to a mysterious and disciplined community known as the Essenes. To understand them, we must imagine the stark, sun-bleached landscape of Palestine, where cliffs rise abruptly from the desert floor and the Dead Sea shimmers like liquid light. Here, in the narrow valleys and hidden caves, a people sought to withdraw from the tumult of cities and empires, dedicating their lives to devotion, study, and ritual purity. The Essenes are described in ancient texts as a sect living on the fringes of society, yet entirely devoted to their spiritual practice. They were said to be meticulous in their observances. Ritual baths, communal meals, and strict codes of conduct marked daily life. Their settlements, such as Qumran, were carefully planned, with cisterns, assembly halls, and storage for scrolls, an infrastructure that suggests both discipline and foresight. But what drove them to choose such a life of isolation? Was it fear of corruption in the cities, a yearning for spiritual perfection, or a deeper understanding of sacred knowledge that they believed must be protected. Historical accounts by writers like Josephus, Philo, and Pliny offer glimpses of the Essenes' character. They are depicted as ascetics, living simply, owning little personal property, and yet showing extraordinary devotion to learning and law. Yet these descriptions, written by outsiders, leave much to interpretation. How much do they reveal the true Essenes, and how much is filtered through the perspective of curious observers? Could there have been rituals, teachings, or traditions that were intentionally concealed from outsiders, known only to the inner circle of the community? The link between the Essenes and the Dead Sea Scrolls is compelling but not definitively proven. Archaeological evidence from Qumran, the settlement's layout, the abundance of ritual baths, and the scrolls hidden in nearby caves, supports the theory that a sect like the Essenes may have thrived here. Yet some scholars caution that these connections remain circumstantial. Were the scrolls the work of Essenes, or might they have belonged to multiple groups, gathered and preserved over time? This uncertainty adds to the enduring aura of mystery that surrounds them. Beyond the texts and ruins, we can glimpse their daily life through small but telling details. Pottery fragments hint at communal meals, oil lamps illuminate once dark rooms, and cisterns reveal ingenious methods for harvesting scarce water. The meticulous nature of their architecture and artifacts points to a people who valued order, discipline, and spiritual rigor. Yet for all this evidence, their ultimate purpose remains elusive. Were they merely devoted scholars and ascetics, or did they believe themselves custodians of a higher, perhaps hidden wisdom? Speculative theories suggest even deeper mysteries. Some propose that the Essenes were not only guardians of Scripture, but also holders of secret knowledge, prophecies, mystical insights, or interpretations of sacred law lost to the wider world. Could they have understood celestial cycles, ancient healing practices, or esoteric interpretations of the Torah that were never recorded elsewhere? While these ideas cannot be verified, they underscore the sense of wonder that the Essenes evoke. A community so dedicated that they seemed to vanish into the cliffs and caves, leaving behind only whispers of their lives in the scrolls and ruins. The Essenes' commitment to ritual purity and communal life also raises questions about human resilience and discipline. They endured harsh desert conditions, relied on precise systems of water collection and food storage, and maintained a lifestyle of extraordinary simplicity. Yet their society was not entirely static. Some evidence suggests that they interacted with travelers, merchants, and pilgrims, hinting at a subtle balance between seclusion and engagement with the wider world. How did they navigate these tensions, and what risks or compromises did they accept to preserve their way of life? Modern scholarship has attempted to reconstruct the Essenes' beliefs and practices, but the picture remains incomplete. Their theology, their interpretations of prophecy, and their understanding of community life are only partially preserved in texts that survived the ravages of time. The scrolls hint at complex hierarchies, rules for initiation, and detailed instructions for communal worship, but much remains obscured. Could there have been teachings lost forever, oral traditions that were never written down, or practices too sacred to record? As we walk through the remains of Qumran today, imagining the Essenes moving silently among terraces and cisterns, we are confronted with both evidence and absence. The desert seems to hold its breath, preserving the echoes of prayers, chants, and scholarly study. Every fragment of pottery, every carved stone, every jar once holding a scroll reminds us that a remarkable people once sought to live in perfect harmony with their faith, yet chose to leave behind only hints of themselves. And so, the mystery endures. The Essenes challenge our understanding of devotion, community, and the human desire to preserve knowledge against the tide of time. Were they merely ascetics seeking purity, Or did they hold keys to truths long lost? What other secrets did they safeguard in the cliffs and caves of Palestine, perhaps never to be found? As we continue our exploration of hidden biblical locations, the Essenes remain both a historical reality and a lingering enigma, an invitation to wonder what lies just beyond the reach of what we know. As we leave the disciplined terraces of Qumran and the devoted lives of the Essenes behind, our journey turns to a region steeped in both history and legend, a place that has captivated the imagination of scholars, theologians, and explorers for millennia: the ancient cities of Sodom and Gomorrah. Nestled near the southern edge of the Dead Sea in Palestine, this landscape is at once haunting and desolate. Salt-encrusted plains stretch across the horizon, punctuated by jagged hills and scattered remnants of what may have once been bustling settlements. The air carries an eerie stillness, as if the earth itself preserves the memory of events long lost to time. Sodom and Gomorrah are best known through their portrayal in sacred texts, described as cities consumed by fire and brimstone as a consequence of extreme immorality. Yet beyond these dramatic accounts lies a more nuanced archaeological puzzle. Scholars have long sought to locate the actual sites, examining ruins along the southeastern shores of the Dead Sea, where layers of ash and charred sediment suggest ancient destruction. Could these traces be the remnants of a catastrophic event? Perhaps an earthquake, meteor impact, or volcanic activity? Or do they mark the aftermath of human conflict, a forgotten war or siege that reshaped the region entirely? The terrain itself offers clues, but also questions. The Dead Sea Basin is geologically volatile, with shifting landforms, sudden sinkholes, and mineral deposits that have accumulated over thousands of years. In some areas, white crystalline mounds, remnants of salt and mineral deposits, rise like frozen echoes of the cities that may have existed there. Early explorers noted pillars of salt, forming naturally yet evoking images of divine judgment. How much of the current landscape mirrors the ancient world, and how much has been transformed by the relentless forces of time, water, and tectonics? Archaeological surveys have uncovered sites near Bab ed-Dura and Numera, where ancient city ruins lie buried beneath layers of debris. Pottery fragments, fortification walls, and collapsed buildings suggest thriving communities that abruptly ended. Radiocarbon dating places some of these settlements in the early 2nd millennium BC, roughly aligning with the biblical timeline. Yet the evidence is fragmentary, leaving room for speculation. Were these truly the cities described in Scripture, or were they independent settlements whose fate later inspired the tales of Sodom and Gomorrah? Speculative theories abound, each seeking to reconcile the dramatic accounts with observable reality. Some propose natural disasters such as methane explosions, massive earthquakes, or sudden floods as the source of the cataclysm. Others suggest that the fire from heaven described in ancient texts could refer to volcanic activity or meteor strikes, phenomena capable of leveling cities with sudden intensity. Could these ancient communities have witnessed something so extraordinary that it became mythologized for generations? The lines between history, legend, and divine interpretation blur, leaving us with tantalizing questions rather than definitive answers. Yet the intrigue extends beyond the physical destruction. What can the artifacts and ruins tell us about the daily lives of Sodom and Gomorrah's inhabitants? Excavations reveal urban planning, communal spaces, and domestic artifacts, hinting at societies that were sophisticated and interconnected, not simply immoral or decadent as Scripture emphasizes. Were these cities hubs of trade and culture, caught in the cross-currents of geography and politics? Or does the scarcity of surviving evidence reflect the abruptness of their end, a civilization erased almost entirely from memory? The Dead Sea region itself compounds the mystery. Salt flats, mineral-rich muds, and the hyper-arid climate have preserved some evidence while erasing others. Entire buildings could vanish under centuries of mineral deposits, and organic materials decay rapidly in harsh conditions. This raises a haunting possibility. Might there still be undiscovered ruins hidden beneath layers of salt, awaiting exploration? Could the full story of Sodom and Gomorrah remain buried, inaccessible to all but the most determined archaeologists and adventurers? Ancient texts describe not only destruction, but also warning, morality, and divine judgment. Yet archaeology presents a more complex narrative. Cities that thrived, structures that stood, people who lived, worked, and perhaps witnessed their world end in sudden catastrophe. Reconciling these perspectives invites reflection on the intersection of human experience, divine narrative, and geological reality. How much of history is lost to time, and how much survives as legend shaped by memory and moral teaching? Even today, traveling across the plains where Sodom and Gomorrah may have stood, one cannot help but sense the weight of history pressing down. The wind stirs clouds of fine dust, carrying the faint scent of salt and minerals, and the sun casts long shadows across eroded mounds and scattered stone fragments. These remnants speak silently of a world that existed, thrived, and vanished, leaving behind only echoes and questions. How do we reconcile what we see with what has been written, and what might have been deliberately preserved or mythologized by generations seeking meaning? As our gaze lingers on the stark beauty and desolation of this landscape, the mystery of Sodom and Gomorrah persists. Were these cities truly destroyed by divine fire, natural catastrophe, or human agency? Do remnants lie undiscovered beneath the salt-encrusted earth, holding evidence that could illuminate the truth? Or will the answers remain forever elusive, hidden beneath layers of ash, rock, and memory, waiting for those willing to search patiently, carefully, and with reverence for the past? In contemplating Sodom and Gomorrah, we confront more than ruins. We confront the intersection of history, faith, and human curiosity. Their story, part cautionary tale, part archaeological puzzle, invites us to reflect on the impermanence of civilizations and the enduring power of memory, both written and preserved by the land itself. The questions endure, as stark and unresolved as the landscape. What truly happened here, and what secrets still lie beneath the salt, waiting for discovery? As we step away from the salt-swept plains where Sodom and Gomorrah may have once stood, our journey follows a quieter yet profoundly significant course, the winding waters of the Jordan River. Flowing gently through the valleys of Palestine, this river has carried life, faith, and mystery for thousands of years. Its banks are lined with reeds and willow trees, their leaves whispering in the breeze, and the water shimmers under the sunlight, reflecting both sky and history. At first glance, it seems a modest, unassuming river, but beneath its surface lies a current of deep spiritual and historical significance, echoing through millennia. The Jordan River has long been a witness to human civilization. It is described in sacred texts as the site of miracles, crossings, and ritual purification. It is the river where Joshua and the Israelites crossed into the Promised Land, where countless pilgrims have entered its waters seeking renewal, and where one man, John the Baptist, performed baptisms that would resonate across generations. Yet despite its biblical prominence, much of the river's story remains shrouded in mystery. How much has changed over millennia, and how much of the river we see today mirrors the waters that once flowed through these same valleys? Geographically, the Jordan River emerges from the mountains of northern Palestine, descending through deep gorges and widening into fertile plains before emptying into the Dead Sea. Archaeological studies suggest that settlements have flourished along its banks for thousands of years. Ruins of ancient villages, pottery fragments, and stone terraces hint at communities that relied on the river for irrigation, travel, and sustenance. Yet the river's quiet flow belies its sometimes volatile nature. Seasonal floods could reshape its course, and tectonic activity in the region has, over centuries, altered the landscape, leaving traces of submerged ruins and forgotten pathways. Could the river itself have preserved secrets of civilizations that once thrived along its banks? The spiritual significance of the Jordan River adds another layer of intrigue. Pilgrims and scholars alike have long debated the exact locations where historic events may have occurred. Certain sites along the river are venerated for centuries as places of baptism or divine encounter. Yet modern research suggests that shifts in the river's path may have displaced or submerged some of these original locations. How can we reconcile devotion and tradition with the shifting realities of geography? Could some sacred sites still lie hidden beneath the muddy waters, or lost in the meandering bends of the river, waiting to be rediscovered? Speculative theories enhance the river's aura of mystery. Some suggest that the Jordan may have been a natural conduit for ancient knowledge and rituals, its waters holding symbolic and practical significance beyond what has been recorded in texts. Could its minerals or currents have contributed to the purification rites described in Scripture? Did the river itself play a role in shaping the spiritual consciousness of the communities that lived along its banks? These questions cannot be answered definitively, yet they underscore the profound connection between human experience, natural landscape, and belief. Modern exploration of the Jordan River reveals both preservation and loss. Agricultural development, diversion for irrigation, and modern settlements have altered some stretches of the river, yet other areas remain remarkably pristine. Along these quieter banks, one can still find fragments of ancient stone structures, worn stairways descending to the water, and platforms that may have once served ritual purposes. Observing these remnants, it is easy to imagine the countless generations who approached the river with reverence, awe, and anticipation. How did their experience of the water differ from ours? What might they have seen or heard along these same shores that we can no longer perceive? The Jordan River also serves as a reminder of the complex interplay between history and memory. It is at once a geographical feature and a symbol, an enduring witness to human triumphs, migrations, and spiritual quests. Scholars have noted that its waters have inspired myths, legends, and religious narratives that cross centuries and cultures. The river's persistent presence, despite changing political, social, and environmental conditions, suggests a resilience that mirrors the communities that have depended upon it. And yet, for all its significance, mysteries linger. Which of the river's stories are preserved in physical evidence, and which survive only in the memories and texts of those who revered it? As the river flows southward, its surface reflecting sunlight and shadow in equal measure, it evokes a sense of quiet contemplation. The Jordan has witnessed the rise and fall of cities, the ebb and flow of human civilization, and the passage of prophets, pilgrims, and wanderers. Even now, one can sense the river as a living thread through history, a waterway connecting past and present, sacred and secular, fact and legend. Could there be remnants of ancient crossings, hidden artifacts, or forgotten settlements buried beneath its banks, awaiting discovery? Or perhaps the river itself holds these secrets in ways we cannot yet comprehend, its depths a repository of memory and meaning. Walking along the Jordan today, the mind is drawn to reflection. Its waters remind us that history is not only written in stone or parchment, but also inscribed in the landscape itself. The river invites us to wonder, what truths have survived its currents? What stories remain submerged beneath centuries of silt, reeds, and silence? And what lessons might the Jordan hold for those willing to observe, to investigate, and to contemplate its enduring presence? The Jordan River, calm yet eternal, flows through valleys that have witnessed miracles, human endeavor, and the passage of time. It challenges us to see history not as a series of static events, but as a living continuum, where the physical world and spiritual narrative intertwine. In its gentle yet persistent flow, we are reminded that even the most familiar landscapes may harbor hidden histories, waiting patiently for those who approach with curiosity, care, and reverence. And so, as we trace the river's course, we are left with the enduring question: what remains hidden in its waters, and what discoveries might still lie ahead along the banks of this timeless river? As the Jordan River winds quietly through the valleys of Palestine, carrying with it centuries of faith and history, our journey now turns to a different kind of witness, one made not of water and stone, but of color, craftsmanship, and careful design: the Madaba Map. Found in the floor of a Byzantine church in the town of Madaba, this mosaic map is more than a work of art. It is a frozen snapshot of the ancient world, a cartographic treasure that connects geography, scripture, and human imagination. Its tesserae, tiny pieces of colored stone and glass, glint in the dim light, forming streets, towns, rivers, and landmarks that have long since changed or disappeared. The Madaba Map dates to the 6th century AD, a period of relative stability and religious devotion in the region. Yet the map itself depicts locations and cities that stretch back into much earlier eras, providing an invaluable glimpse into how the ancient world was perceived and remembered. Its most famous feature is a detailed representation of Jerusalem, including streets, city gates, and the prominent sanctuaries of the time. Surrounding it, the map stretches across Palestine, the Dead Sea, the Jordan River, and even parts of the Nile Delta. It is both a practical guide and a symbolic record, merging sacred geography with everyday life. But why did the creators choose to depict these sites in such vivid detail, and what stories lie hidden between the carefully arranged tiles? For centuries, the Madaba Map was buried under layers of dust, rubble, and time, until its rediscovery in the late 19th century revealed a mosaic of extraordinary significance. Scholars and pilgrims alike were captivated not only by its artistic skill, but by its accuracy and detail. Cities marked on the map, some of which had been forgotten or misidentified for centuries, were suddenly rediscovered through its guidance. Could this mosaic, painstakingly crafted by anonymous hands, have served as both a spiritual compass and a practical tool for travelers and pilgrims? And if so, what secrets about the geography and politics of the region might it conceal, waiting to be deciphered? The craftsmanship of the map itself invites reflection. Each tessera is placed with remarkable precision, creating vivid images of temples, streets, rivers, and fields. Red, yellow, black, and blue tiles combine to form an intricate network that stretches from the Mediterranean coastline to the edge of the Dead Sea. Was this level of detail intended simply to honor the Holy Land, or did it encode information about sacred sites, pilgrimage routes, or even ancient territorial boundaries? Some scholars propose that the map represents a deliberate attempt to merge religious devotion with cartographic knowledge, a visual record meant to guide, instruct, and inspire. Yet questions remain. The map depicts some cities and sites in meticulous detail while omitting others entirely, raising the possibility of selective emphasis. Were certain locations emphasized because of religious significance, political power, or economic importance? Or might there have been symbolic choices, intended to convey spiritual truths rather than geographic accuracy? The interplay of fact, faith, and artistry makes the Madaba Map not only a historical artifact, but a puzzle, challenging modern scholars to read its intentions as carefully as one reads an ancient text. Speculative theories about the map abound, adding a layer of intrigue to its already rich historical context. Some suggest that it may preserve knowledge of older cities and trade routes, long since abandoned or destroyed, their memory surviving only in mosaic form. Could the creators of the map have had access to older records or oral traditions now lost to time, preserving knowledge of civilizations, settlements, or sacred sites that archaeology has yet to uncover. Others propose that subtle details in the map, placement of rivers, shapes of cities, or orientation of streets, may encode spiritual or cosmological symbolism meant to align earthly geography with divine narrative. The Madaba Map also connects intimately with other biblical locations we have explored. The Jordan River, Sodom and Gomorrah, Jericho, and Jerusalem all appear within its careful design, linking natural landscapes and human settlements across time. It is a visual chronicle that captures the intersection of faith, geography, and human imagination. By studying it, we glimpse not only what the world looked like in the 6th century AD, but also how people of that era perceived their place in history and in the divine story of the land. Walking among the fragments of the mosaic today, the mind cannot help but wander. The colors, worn yet enduring, reflect light that has not touched them in over a millennium. Each tile represents a deliberate choice, a decision by an unknown artisan to depict one city rather than another, one river bend rather than another. What guided these choices, and what might have been left out? Could the map hold clues to lost sites, forgotten settlements, or paths trodden by prophets and pilgrims whose names have vanished from memory? The Madaba Map invites us to see history as a layered tapestry, where observation, devotion, and memory intertwine. It reminds us that maps are not merely tools for navigation. They are expressions of human understanding, filtered through the lens of culture, religion, and imagination. And like the Jordan River or the ruins of Sodom and Gomorrah, it preserves both what is known and what remains a mystery, leaving us to wonder about the gaps, the omissions, and the stories that have not yet been rediscovered. As we trace the mosaic with our eyes, following streets and rivers, imagining long-vanished cities, we confront an essential truth. The Madaba Map is both a record and a riddle. It connects the sacred and the historical, the tangible and the symbolic, offering insight while withholding its full secrets. What other ancient sites, lost to time and memory, might it hint at? What knowledge was carefully encoded in its colorful tiles, waiting for generations of curious observers to decipher? And perhaps most intriguingly, what might still be hidden beneath the layers of earth, stone, and devotion, waiting for discovery in the lands it depicts? From the vibrant tesserae of the Madaba Map, tracing the sacred landscapes of Palestine, our journey moves to a location both humble and profoundly symbolic, Gilgal. A seemingly quiet and unassuming site, Gilgal rests on the fertile plains east of Jericho, where rolling fields meet the remnants of ancient settlements. Here, the land bears the traces of centuries, perhaps millennia, of human presence, yet it carries a mystery that has eluded scholars and pilgrims alike. The soil itself seems imbued with memory, as though the echoes of past rituals, gatherings, and covenantal acts still linger in the wind. Gilgal is most famously noted in sacred texts as a place of beginnings. It is where Joshua first set up 12 stones taken from the Jordan River, a memorial to mark the crossing into the Promised Land. Today, visitors find a quiet expanse of archaeological remains, stone circles, low mounds, and remnants of walls that hint at structured occupation. Yet much about Gilgal remains unresolved. Were these structures purely practical, used for dwellings and storage, or did they serve ritual purposes, forming a landscape of spiritual significance that guided the lives of its ancient inhabitants? Archaeological investigations have revealed fascinating yet puzzling details. Excavations suggest that Gilgal was inhabited as early as the late 4th millennium BC, with evidence of agricultural activity, pottery, and ceremonial objects. Stone arrangements and circular installations have been interpreted by some scholars as altars or sacred markers, yet their exact purpose is still debated. How did these early communities understand and interact with the land? Did these arrangements serve as gathering points for seasonal festivals, communal rituals, or acts of remembrance? Or were they markers of political and territorial claims, asserting presence and authority in a contested landscape? The symbolic weight of Gilgal is further enhanced by its connection to the Jordan River and the crossing of Joshua and the Israelites. Water, as a source of life and ritual purification, meets stone, a symbol of permanence and memory. But the archaeological record leaves gaps. The riverbanks may have shifted, structures eroded, and materials reused over generations. How much of what we see today reflects the site of the original biblical narrative, and how much has been altered by centuries of natural and human activity? Could the very placement of stones and foundations hold encoded meaning, lost to time but visible to those who know how to read the landscape? Speculative interpretations deepen the intrigue. Some suggest that Gilgal may have functioned as a sacred precinct, a location where celestial observations, seasonal rites, or prophetic ceremonies occurred. Others propose that the circular stone formations were deliberately aligned with cardinal directions or celestial events, suggesting a knowledge of astronomy intertwined with spiritual practice. While concrete evidence for such theories is limited, the precision and care in the site's construction invite the possibility that Gilgal was far more than a simple settlement. Could its builders have sought to encode divine order in stone, leaving a silent testimony for future generations to interpret? The artifacts found at Gilgal add subtle but meaningful context. Pottery shards, grinding stones, and ritual objects point to a community engaged in both daily sustenance and ceremonial practice. The careful arrangement of stones, some large enough to require coordinated effort, suggests intentionality and significance beyond mere utility. Yet these clues provoke as many questions as they answer. Who determined the layout of Gilgal, and why? Were these arrangements replicated in other communities, or was this site uniquely sacred, a focal point of memory and devotion? Gilgal's connection to the wider region further enhances its significance. The site is strategically located near key routes connecting the Jordan River, Jericho, and other ancient settlements. Could this positioning have made it both a spiritual center and a hub for trade or cultural exchange? Did the people of Gilgal maintain contact with neighboring communities, or was the site intentionally isolated to preserve its sanctity and rituals? These questions highlight the complex interplay between geography, culture, and belief in shaping ancient settlements. Walking among the low mounds and stone circles today, it is easy to feel a sense of reverence for what has endured. The landscape carries an almost palpable silence, punctuated by the rustle of wind across the plains. One can imagine gatherings of the past, families, priests, or community leaders performing ceremonies by stone markers, drawing meaning from both the land and the flowing waters nearby. What stories of devotion, courage, and human experience might have unfolded here, now lost to memory but subtly imprinted on the land itself? Gilgal challenges us to see history not as a fixed narrative but as a tapestry of lived experience, memory, and mystery. It reminds us that sacred spaces are often humble in appearance, their significance encoded in ritual, placement, and human intention rather than grandeur. The combination of archaeological evidence, historical record, and lingering uncertainty leaves the mind to wander. What might still lie buried beneath the plains of Gilgal? Are there artifacts, inscriptions, or structures yet undiscovered that could illuminate the lives of those who first consecrated this land? And could understanding Gilgal help us uncover patterns of faith and settlement that stretch across the landscape of ancient Palestine? As we pause among the stones and mounds, the silence of Gilgal invites reflection. This site, modest yet profound, connects us to the earliest acts of remembrance, to the rituals that marked beginnings, and to the enduring human desire to leave traces of presence and devotion. Each stone seems to ask a question of its visitor. What has been preserved? What has been lost? And what might still be waiting, concealed beneath the earth, for those patient and attentive enough to find it? Gilgal, like the Jordan River, the Dead Sea, and the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah, reminds us that the landscapes of Palestine are not merely physical. They are layered with memory, meaning, and mystery. The questions it raises are as compelling as any narrative. Who lived here? How did they perceive the sacred? And what stories remain hidden, awaiting discovery by those willing to explore carefully, with curiosity, and with respect for the past? In the quiet of Gilgal, the echoes of ancient footsteps seem to linger, inviting us to listen and to wonder what secrets may yet be revealed. Leaving behind the quiet plains of Gilgal, where stones bear the weight of ancient ritual and remembrance, our journey leads us to one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities on earth, Jericho. Nestled near the Jordan River in Palestine, the city rises from the fertile plains at the edge of the Judean desert, its ruins whispering stories that stretch back thousands of years. The air here is dry, yet charged with history. The wind stirs dust over low mounds, and the distant outline of the Mount of Temptation casts a shadow across the land, evoking a sense of mystery and timelessness. Jericho is a place where civilization and legend intertwine, where archaeology meets narrative, and where the past seems to pulse beneath every stone. Jericho is famously described in sacred texts as the city whose walls fell after the Israelites, led by Joshua, circled it with trumpets and faith. Yet beyond the biblical account lies a complex archaeological and historical puzzle. Excavations reveal layers of settlement that extend back to the 10th millennium BC, suggesting a city that predates most known urban centers. Mud brick houses, defensive walls, and ancient towers testify to the ingenuity and organization of its earliest inhabitants. But how much of the Jericho described in Scripture corresponds to these physical remnants? And how much has been shaped by centuries of retelling, myth-making, and theological reflection? The city's walls themselves are a central focus of intrigue. Archaeologists have uncovered multiple layers of fortification, some dating to the Bronze Age. Towering mud brick structures and stone foundations suggest a city capable of defending itself from external threats. Yet evidence of destruction and rebuilding appears repeatedly across millennia. Were these destructions caused by natural disasters, such as earthquakes, or by human conflict? Could some layers correspond to the dramatic narrative of the walls falling, while others represent entirely separate events? The interplay between geology and history here is as enigmatic as it is fascinating. Jericho's strategic location contributes to both its historical significance and its enduring mystery. The city sits at a crossroads of ancient trade routes, linking the Jordan River Valley to the Judean hills and the Mediterranean coast. This position allowed Jericho to flourish as a center of commerce, agriculture, and culture. Archaeological finds, pottery, tools, and remnants of irrigation systems attest to a sophisticated society that harnessed the river's waters and the fertile soil of the plains. Yet, despite this evidence, many questions remain. How did these early communities organize themselves? What political and religious structures guided daily life? And how much of the city's prominence is reflected in the stories preserved in sacred texts? Speculative theories add another layer to Jericho's allure. Some scholars suggest that the city's fortifications were not purely defensive but held ceremonial or symbolic significance, reflecting the spiritual worldview of its inhabitants. Could the walls themselves have represented more than protection, embodying a community's covenant with the divine or its understanding of sacred order? Others propose that geological and climatic phenomena, floods, earthquakes, or shifting river courses, played a role in shaping the city's development and its dramatic moments of destruction. Was the collapse of the walls a literal event, a metaphorical lesson, or perhaps both? Archaeological evidence also points to a city deeply connected to agriculture and ritual. Ancient terraces, irrigation channels, and storage pits reveal a society attuned to the rhythms of the land. Fields of barley, wheat, and date palms would have sustained the population, while ceremonial sites may have served as focal points for communal gatherings and religious observances. The juxtaposition of mundane daily life with profound spiritual meaning creates a city layered in both physical and symbolic significance. What remains hidden beneath the soil may yet reveal new insights into how the people of Jericho lived, worshipped, and understood their world. Jericho's long history is also marked by continuity and change. Conquerors, settlers, and travelers have all left their imprint, sometimes erasing earlier traces and sometimes preserving them in unexpected ways. The city has endured, in one form or another, for over 12 millennia, a testament to human resilience and the fertility of the Jordan Valley. Yet, with each layer of rebuilding, stories are lost as others are created. Which narratives belong to the original inhabitants, and which were added by later generations seeking to interpret or claim the city's legacy? The intertwining of fact and tradition invites reflection on the nature of history itself. The landscape surrounding Jericho contributes further mystery. Salt flats, rolling hills, and the nearby Dead Sea create an environment both harsh and sustaining. Ancient travelers would have encountered this mix of desolation and abundance, challenging their endurance while providing resources for survival. Could the city's location, perched between desert and river, have influenced its symbolic significance in Scripture? Was it seen as a threshold between wilderness and promise, danger and salvation? The land itself seems to hold questions as well as answers, urging us to look closer and wonder what lies beneath the surface. Even small artifacts evoke larger mysteries. Flint tools, shards of pottery, and remnants of walls carry hints of daily life, while larger constructions, towers and gates, suggest social organization and collective effort. The alignment of structures, the repetition of certain motifs, and the positioning of ceremonial spaces may all reflect a worldview now only partially recoverable. Were these elements purely practical, or did they encode meaning, belief, or memory? The very act of reconstruction, both archaeological and narrative, becomes a meditation on how humans understand and preserve the past. Walking through the ruins today, one cannot help but feel the layers of time pressing upon the imagination. The city's stories of conquest, devotion, survival, and mystery linger like whispers in the wind. The walls, long fallen, continue to speak through remnants of stone and earth, inviting reflection on what was, what may have been, and what remains hidden. Could there be undiscovered chambers, buried artifacts, or traces of earlier settlements still waiting beneath the soil? And if so, what might they reveal about a city that has witnessed so much, yet guards its deepest secrets jealously? Jericho challenges us to consider the intersection of history, faith, and human ingenuity. Its narrative spans literal and metaphorical landscapes, where archaeology and legend converge. Each discovery provokes new questions. What were the daily lives of its earliest inhabitants like? How did they negotiate survival, community, and devotion in this fertile yet volatile land? And how does the city's enduring presence continue to influence the imagination and beliefs of those who follow in the footsteps of millennia? As the sun sets over Jericho, casting long shadows across the ancient mounds and terraces, the city seems to breathe with the memory of countless generations. Its walls may have fallen, its rulers and peoples may have changed, but the city's essence endures, both tangible and elusive. The mysteries of Jericho remain, waiting for those willing to explore, to question, and to listen to the land itself. What secrets have survived beneath its soil, and which stories, like the walls of the city, have crumbled into legend? As we continue this journey through the hidden biblical locations of Palestine, Jericho stands as a reminder that history is alive, layered, and still full of wonders yet to be discovered. From the fertile plains of Jericho, our journey ascends into the hills of Jerusalem, a city that rises like a crown over the surrounding valleys of Palestine. Its stone streets, ancient walls, and layered architecture speak of millennia of human devotion, conquest, and contemplation. The air is tinged with the scent of limestone, cedar, and the faint remnants of centuries of incense, as if the city itself breathes the memory of countless generations. Jerusalem is not merely a city. It is a living archive of faith, power, and mystery, where every street and stone carries a story that continues to unfold. Jerusalem's history stretches deep into antiquity. Archaeological evidence reveals settlement in the area as early as the 4th millennium BC, with fortifications, dwellings, and ritual sites suggesting an organized and vibrant community. The city's strategic position atop hills overlooking the Judean and Kidron valleys has made it a center of influence, devotion, and conflict for millennia. But the deeper one explores, the more questions arise. How much of what we see today reflects the Jerusalem of ancient texts? Which structures mark the city's earliest days, and which are remnants of later empires, religious devotion, or reconstruction? Central to Jerusalem's intrigue is the Temple Mount, a plateau whose stones have witnessed extraordinary events. For centuries, it has been a place of worship, sacrifice, and ritual. Scholars and pilgrims alike are captivated by its enduring presence, yet much about the site remains enigmatic. The precise layout of the earliest temples, the nature of the rituals performed, and the architectural innovations employed are subjects of ongoing study and debate. Could there be remnants still hidden beneath the surface, untouched by millennia of rebuilding and excavation? What truths lie buried under layers of stone, soil, and devotion, waiting for discovery? The city's walls tell their own story. Massive fortifications, some dating to the 1st millennium BC, reflect both defense and prestige. Archaeological layers reveal cycles of destruction and reconstruction, evidence of sieges, fires, and conquests. The ebb and flow of Jerusalem's history is etched in each stone. Babylonian incursions, Persian rule, Hellenistic influence, and Roman dominion, all leaving traces of their presence. Yet amid the evidence of conquest, the city's spiritual and cultural identity persisted. How did these ancient inhabitants reconcile periods of violence with the continuity of worship and civic life? And what aspects of the city's past remain hidden beneath ruins, waiting to reshape our understanding? Jerusalem's streets, though compact, offer layers of civilization visible to those willing to look closely. Pottery shards, inscriptions, coins, and everyday tools tell stories of commerce, domestic life, and ritual practice. The alignment of streets, placement of gates, and design of public spaces suggest a sophisticated understanding of urban planning, ritual, and social organization. Yet even with centuries of excavation, vast sections of the city remain unexplored. Could there be underground structures, secret passageways, or storage vaults containing objects of immense historical or spiritual significance? How much of the city's past lies just out of reach, concealed beneath later layers of human activity? The city's spiritual significance enhances its mystery. Jerusalem is a nexus for faiths, a center for sacred narratives that span millennia. Temples, shrines, and holy sites bear witness to devotion, reflection, and pilgrimage. Some areas are precisely documented in historical texts, yet others are enigmatic, their exact locations debated or lost. Could there be sacred sites yet unrecognized by modern scholars? Might there be places where ritual practice left no visible mark, yet preserved spiritual significance that persists invisibly across time? Speculative theories add a further layer to Jerusalem's story. Some suggest that the city's design, from street layout to temple positioning, may have encoded knowledge of astronomy, sacred geometry, or cosmology. Others propose that Jerusalem's subterranean spaces, cisterns, tunnels, and caves, might conceal artifacts, scrolls, or inscriptions yet undiscovered, preserving secrets of ancient administration, religious practice, or esoteric knowledge. While such ideas remain speculative, they underscore the city's depth as both a physical and symbolic landscape, a place where history, faith, and human intention converge in complex and sometimes hidden ways. Even natural features contribute to the city's enduring allure. Springs, valleys, and ridges shaped settlement patterns and strategic planning. Water channels, wells, and cisterns reveal the ingenuity of ancient engineers who harnessed scarce resources to sustain life in a challenging environment. Could there still be remnants of these systems buried beneath modern streets, holding evidence of urban planning or ritual practice lost to time? And how might these features illuminate the relationship between Jerusalem's inhabitants and the landscape that sustained them? Walking through the old city today, the layers of history are palpable. Ancient stones rub against modern footsteps, markets echo with sounds that have traveled through centuries, and narrow alleys guide visitors along paths trodden by prophets, kings, and ordinary citizens alike. Every doorway, arch, and fragment carries the weight of memory. What stories remain invisible, waiting to be uncovered by careful observation, patient excavation, or insight drawn from connecting text, artifact, and terrain. Jerusalem also challenges us to consider the persistence of human aspiration. Its inhabitants rebuilt, preserved, and adapted the city across ages of conquest, natural disaster, and political change. The city embodies both continuity and transformation, where sacred and civic life intertwine. Could understanding the city's deeper structures, subterranean chambers, forgotten walls, or buried inscriptions, reveal not only historical events, but also the ways in which faith and governance coexisted and evolved? As evening falls over Jerusalem, the city is bathed in golden light, and shadows stretch across ancient rooftops and alleys. The Dome of the Rock, the Western Wall, and the Church of the Holy Sepulchre rise as silent witnesses to millennia of devotion and human endeavor. Yet beneath this visible tapestry lies an undercurrent of questions. How much of the city's story has yet to be told? How many mysteries lie beneath stone, soil, and memory awaiting discovery? And what truths about human faith, culture, and resilience might still emerge from these hidden depths? Jerusalem, in all its grandeur and complexity, reminds us that cities are more than buildings. They are living archives, repositories of memory, faith, and human aspiration. It challenges us to look closely, to listen, and to wonder. Every uncovered artifact, every newly revealed layer of stone, every whispered story contributes to a portrait that is never complete, always evolving and infinitely compelling. What secrets remain buried beneath its streets, and which ones might illuminate new understandings of history, devotion, and the enduring human spirit? From the layered streets and sacred hills of Jerusalem, our attention narrows to one of the most iconic and enduring relics of ancient devotion, the Western Wall. Rising from the old city like a monument to faith, resilience, and human endeavor, the wall is more than a structure of stone. It is a silent witness to millennia of history, conquest, and spiritual aspiration. Each massive limestone block carries the weight of centuries, etched with the marks of time, the hands of builders, and the whispered prayers of countless generations. Standing before it, one cannot help but sense the convergence of history, memory, and sacred intention. The Western Wall is part of the remains of the Second Temple complex, constructed in the late 6th century BC and expanded under King Herod in the 1st century BC. These massive stones were cut, transported and positioned with astonishing precision, forming terraces and retaining walls that supported the Temple Mount above. Even today, the engineering expertise evident in their placement inspires admiration and curiosity. How were these colossal blocks moved without modern machinery? Did the builders employ techniques now lost to history, or were their methods meticulously recorded in texts and oral traditions that have since vanished? Archaeological study of the wall and its surrounding areas provides insights, yet also deepens the mystery. Layers of construction, renovation, and restoration reveal a history punctuated by destruction, conquest, and renewal. The wall has withstood earthquakes, invasions, and the passage of empires, from Babylonian incursions to Roman occupation, and later Byzantine, Crusader, and Ottoman periods. Each era left subtle imprints, inscriptions, tool marks, and architectural adjustments that offer clues to both the practical and symbolic significance of the wall. Could there be hidden chambers, buried artifacts, or ancient inscriptions still waiting to be discovered within its massive stones? The wall's significance extends beyond engineering and archaeology. It is a place of devotion, contemplation, and pilgrimage, drawing people from across the world to touch its stones, leave written prayers in its crevices, and reflect on a sacred past. Its enduring spiritual resonance raises questions about the relationship between physical space and human belief. How did the builders conceive of this structure not merely as a support for the Temple Mount, but as a vessel for faith, memory, and collective identity? Could the wall itself have been intended as a tangible connection between the earthly and the divine, a focal point for communal ritual and spiritual reflection? Speculative theories about the wall abound, enriching its aura of mystery. Some researchers propose that portions of the subterranean structure may conceal tunnels, chambers, or artifacts connected to the temple's rituals. Could these spaces have been repositories for sacred objects, scrolls, or ceremonial tools, hidden from invaders or preserved intentionally for posterity? Others suggest that the wall's precise alignment with the Temple Mount and the orientation of certain blocks may encode astronomical or symbolic knowledge, reflecting a sophisticated understanding of cosmology integrated with religious practice. While these theories remain speculative, they underscore the profound layers of meaning embedded in the wall's construction. Even the stones themselves seem to tell stories. Many bear chisel marks, erosion patterns, and remnants of plaster or inscriptions, offering glimpses of ancient craftsmanship and ritual. The western wall is not uniform. Some blocks are massive, weighing tens of tons, while others are smaller, carefully fitted to fill gaps or provide structural stability. Each stone represents labor, skill, and intention. Yet in these variations we glimpse unanswered questions. Why were certain stones chosen for specific positions? Do the marks and wear patterns hold clues to the construction methods, ceremonial use, or even symbolic intentions of the builders? The surrounding landscape adds to the wall's intrigue. The western wall plaza, the underground tunnels, and the adjacent chambers reveal a city layered in both time and function. Cisterns, passageways, and remnants of ancient streets hint at a complex urban environment connected to religious, civic, and economic life. How much of this network remains hidden beneath the surface, and what might it reveal about the daily lives of those who built, maintained, and worshipped at the temple complex? Could hidden vaults contain artifacts or inscriptions that might illuminate the wall's earliest history and the religious practices associated with it? The wall also evokes reflection on resilience, both structural and symbolic. It has survived the rise and fall of empires, the destruction of the Second Temple, and centuries of political upheaval. Its endurance makes it a repository of human memory, a tangible link to the aspirations, fears, and devotion of those who came before. Yet its survival raises further questions. How much of the original structure remains? How much has been restored, rebuilt, or supplemented over centuries? And what might these layers of reconstruction reveal about the changing priorities, technologies, and religious interpretations of successive generations? Visitors to the wall today often report a sense of connection across time. Hands pressed to the stones, notes tucked into crevices, and silent contemplation create an atmosphere where past and present converge. The wall's physicality, its immense scale, rough texture, and enduring presence, makes it a bridge between human experience and the sacred narratives that have defined the region for millennia. Yet, for all its familiarity, it retains an air of mystery. What lies beneath its massive stones? What secrets of ritual practice, architectural technique, or spiritual insight may have been buried and preserved for centuries? Even the wall's relationship to other hidden sites in Jerusalem adds layers to its story. Its proximity to the Temple Mount, the subterranean tunnels, and nearby ancient structures suggests a network of sacred and functional spaces carefully designed to support ritual, governance, and community life. Could future excavation or technological exploration reveal new dimensions of this interconnected system? And if so, how might such discoveries reshape our understanding of Jerusalem's spiritual, architectural, and historical landscape? As the sun casts long shadows across the plaza, illuminating the western wall in golden light, it is impossible not to feel the weight of history and devotion that this structure embodies. Each stone stands as a testament to human effort, resilience, and belief. Yet the unanswered questions, the hidden chambers, the lost inscriptions, the mysteries of construction and ritual linger, inviting both curiosity and reverence. How much remains unseen, silently preserved in the stones themselves? And how might uncovering these secrets deepen our understanding of a city that has been sacred, contested, and admired for millennia? The Western Wall reminds us that history is not only recorded in texts or relics, but in enduring structures that bridge time and human intention. It is a place where the tangible and the spiritual meet, where the ordinary labor of stonecutters converges with the extraordinary devotion of countless generations. What remains hidden within its massive stones, beneath the surface of the plaza, or in the subterranean spaces that extend beyond sight? The wall continues to challenge us to observe, reflect, and wonder. And as we stand before it, we are reminded that some mysteries endure, patiently waiting for those willing to seek, question, and listen to the echoes of the past. From the solemn stones of the Western Wall, where centuries of devotion and history press against human hands, our journey descends into the hidden waters of Jerusalem, to a site both sacred and enigmatic: the Pool of Siloam. Nestled in a quiet valley near the southern wall of the Old City, this ancient reservoir is more than a pool of water. It is a mirror reflecting centuries of faith, engineering, and human life. The air is still, carrying the faint scent of limestone and soil, and the gentle trickle of water seems to whisper echoes of pilgrims, priests, and the faithful who have approached its edge across millennia. The Pool of Siloam holds a unique place in the history of Palestine. It was fed by Hezekiah's tunnel, an engineering marvel carved in the late 8th century BC to channel water from the Gihon spring into the city, ensuring a reliable supply even during sieges. Walking along the exposed stone steps and viewing the pool's remains today, it is easy to feel the scale of this endeavor. Ancient workers tunneled for hundreds of meters through solid rock, guided by intuition, skill, and possibly rudimentary measurement techniques, creating a waterway that has endured through wars, earthquakes, and centuries of urban change. How did they achieve such precision in an era without modern tools? Could there be undiscovered elements of the tunnel or reservoir system that reveal secrets of ancient engineering still hidden beneath the city? Archaeological studies suggest that the pool was more than a functional reservoir. It was also a ceremonial site. Pilgrims may have gathered here for purification rites, ritual bathing, and preparation before entering the sacred precincts of Jerusalem. Inscriptions and artifacts found nearby hint at a complex interaction between daily utility and spiritual observance. The very act of immersing oneself in these waters seems to have carried symbolic significance, bridging the human and the divine. But what exact rituals took place here? Which practices were codified and which were lost to time? Could the stones themselves, worn smooth by centuries of footsteps, preserve faint traces of these sacred acts, awaiting discovery? The Pool of Siloam is intimately linked to the narratives of faith preserved in sacred texts. It is described as the site where healing, renewal, and transformation occurred, its waters imbued with spiritual power in the imagination of generations. Yet the archaeological record leaves open questions. How much of the pool's structure has survived intact, and how much has been altered or buried by the passage of time? Layers of soil, debris, and later construction obscure portions of the original site, suggesting that even the parts we can see may hide clues to practices, constructions, or even inscriptions that remain unseen. Speculative interpretations of the pool add a layer of intrigue. Some scholars suggest that its design and orientation may have reflected more than practicality. Could the steps and surrounding terraces have been arranged to facilitate ritual movement or processions, guiding pilgrims in symbolic patterns that echoed spiritual beliefs? Were there hidden chambers, small shrines, or carved niches along its edges used for offerings or sacred objects? The notion that the Pool of Siloam was both functional and deeply symbolic invites reflection on the intersection of human ingenuity, devotion, and the natural environment. Even the water itself carries mystery. Fed from the Gihon spring, it represents a lifeline in a city often defined by scarcity and topography. How was water managed across centuries to serve the needs of the population while preserving its ritual and symbolic significance? Could sediment, mineral traces, or hidden channels still hold evidence of ancient practices, lost settlements, or submerged artifacts? The Pool of Siloam is as much a lens into the daily life of Jerusalem as it is a window into faith, engineering, and human creativity. The surrounding landscape adds further dimension to the pool's story. Situated in the Tyre Valley, the Pool of Siloam lies beneath layers of urban expansion, connecting the southern terraces of the city to the Temple Mount and other sacred precincts. Ancient streets, steps, and walls once guided pilgrims from the pool toward ritual centers, linking water, worship, and city life in a continuous, purposeful flow. Could undiscovered sections of these pathways or hidden annexes of the pool complex reveal details about urban planning, religious practice, or social organization in Jerusalem? And what might these findings tell us about the people who lived, worshipped, and labored here over the centuries? Archaeological discoveries have already illuminated fascinating aspects of the pool. Inscriptions dating to the Byzantine period, coins, and pottery shards suggest ongoing use long after its initial construction. Even these fragments hint at a continuity of devotion, ritual, and civic engagement, yet they also raise questions. Which periods are fully documented, and which remain hidden beneath layers of sediment? How much of the pool's original structure and purpose has been obscured by time, conflict, or urban development? Could the water still conceal objects or markings left by hands long vanished from history? Walking along the pool today, it is easy to sense the rhythm of history beneath your feet. Steps worn smooth by generations of pilgrims, terraces that once held the faithful, and the pool itself, calm yet eternal, create an atmosphere that blends the tangible and the sacred. One can imagine the rituals that unfolded here, the prayers whispered, the hopes and fears of those seeking purification or healing. What traces of these human experiences remain etched into the stones, sediment, or water? And how might modern exploration, technology, or observation reveal aspects of this history still hidden from view? The Pool of Siloam also challenges our perception of sacred space. It was simultaneously practical, spiritual, and communal, illustrating how physical structures can embody multiple layers of meaning. Could other water features in Jerusalem, long buried or altered, have served similar dual purposes, connecting daily life to ritual practice in ways we have yet to uncover? And if so, what might these findings reveal about the broader spiritual and social landscape of the city and the surrounding region of Palestine? As the sun casts long shadows over the southern valley, illuminating the steps of the Pool of Siloam in soft golden light, one is reminded of the interplay between human labor, faith, and the natural environment. The pool endures as a testament to engineering skill, spiritual devotion, and communal life. Yet it also invites contemplation. What remains hidden beneath its waters, terraces, and surrounding soil? How much of its history is preserved only in memory, in text, or in the subtle imprint of stone and sediment? The Pool of Siloam, like the Western Wall and the streets of Jerusalem, reminds us that sacred sites are often layered with both revealed and concealed histories. It challenges us to observe carefully, to listen to the whispers of the past, and to consider the intersections of human ingenuity, belief, and natural resources. What mysteries remain submerged beneath its waters, and what stories await discovery along its worn steps and terraces? As we explore this quiet, enduring site, we are left to wonder what secrets the Pool of Siloam still holds, patiently awaiting those who seek, question, and listen. From the quiet waters of the Pool of Siloam, where centuries of ritual and devotion leave their subtle traces, our journey moves southward into the rolling hills of Bethlehem, a city steeped in history, faith, and legend. Nestled in the fertile hills of Palestine, Bethlehem rises gently from terraced fields, olive groves, and winding paths that have carried pilgrims, shepherds, and travelers across millennia. The air is tinged with the scent of earth, cedar, and incense, as though the land itself holds memory, whispering stories of generations who lived, worked, and worshipped here. Bethlehem is a city where the ordinary and the sacred meet, where stone streets and ancient dwellings echo with mystery and meaning. Bethlehem is perhaps best known for its association with sacred narratives, yet the city's origins extend far beyond these traditions. Archaeological evidence indicates that it was inhabited as early as the Middle Bronze Age, with remains of dwellings, ritual objects, and agricultural installations suggesting a long-standing settlement. The city's strategic position, overlooking fertile valleys and connecting routes, made it a center for trade, farming, and local governance. Yet much of its early history remains shrouded in mystery. What daily practices, ceremonies, and social structures shaped life here long before the stories of later texts were recorded? Could hidden layers of architecture or buried artifacts reveal facets of Bethlehem yet unknown? The Church of the Nativity, a central landmark in the city, marks one of the most venerated sites in Christian tradition. Built over what is traditionally considered the birthplace of a sacred figure, the structure itself has undergone centuries of construction, renovation, and preservation. Beneath the visible architecture, archaeologists have uncovered caves, cisterns, and crypts, revealing a complex network of subterranean spaces whose purposes remain partially understood. Could these hidden chambers contain relics, inscriptions, or traces of ancient worship long forgotten? And what might these discoveries reveal about the early inhabitants of Bethlehem and their spiritual practices? Bethlehem's landscape is equally compelling. The terraced hills, dotted with olive trees and dotted with caves, suggest a community deeply connected to its land. caves were used for shelter, storage, and ritual, their stone interiors bearing silent witness to countless human lives. Could some of these caves hold evidence of pre-biblical rituals, communal gatherings, or artifacts lost to time? Archaeologists have unearthed pottery, tools, and everyday objects that hint at the rhythms of daily life. Yet these fragments provoke more questions than answers. How were these spaces used, and what stories did their inhabitants intend to preserve? Speculative theories surrounding Bethlehem add layers of intrigue. Some researchers suggest that certain natural formations, such as caves, rock outcrops, and terraces, may have been chosen intentionally for their symbolic or ritual significance. Did early inhabitants perceive these formations as sacred, aligning them with celestial events, seasonal cycles, or spiritual narratives? Could the selection of specific locations for dwellings, shrines, or communal spaces encode knowledge of cosmology, ritual practice, or communal memory that remains partially hidden beneath centuries of sediment and construction? Bethlehem's role as a center of pilgrimage further complicates its narrative. For millennia, visitors have arrived to honor the city's sacred associations, leaving marks, inscriptions, and artifacts in the process. Yet each generation's presence altered the physical and cultural landscape, sometimes preserving the past, sometimes obscuring it. How much of what we see today reflects ancient practices, and how much has been shaped by centuries of veneration, renovation, and reinterpretation? Could there be remnants of pre-classical habitation or ritual sites buried beneath churches, marketplaces, and homes, waiting to reveal their stories? Even the water sources and agricultural features around Bethlehem carry mystery. Springs, cisterns, and channels reveal sophisticated knowledge of hydrology, engineering, and urban planning, sustaining life in a region defined by both abundance and scarcity. Could there be undiscovered water systems beneath the city, preserving evidence of early engineering, community organization, or ritual purification practices? And might these hidden features illuminate aspects of Bethlehem's past that have been overlooked, connecting daily life to spiritual and social structures in ways not yet understood? Walking the streets today, the layering of history is palpable. Stone walls, narrow alleys, and terraces tell stories of construction, adaptation, and resilience. Visitors tread paths once walked by generations whose names have been lost, yet whose labor, devotion, and imagination shaped the city's enduring character. The interplay between ordinary human activity and sacred narrative creates a landscape that is simultaneously familiar and mysterious. Could the subtle traces embedded in walls, steps, and subterranean spaces provide insight into rituals, social hierarchies, or beliefs long forgotten? Bethlehem's caves are particularly evocative. Some were used for shelter, storage, or ritual, while others have yielded artifacts that hint at complex spiritual or communal life. Archaeologists have discovered shards of pottery, oil lamps, and small figurines, raising questions about the intersection of domestic life, trade, and ritual practice. Could additional caves, yet unexcavated, contain inscriptions, relics, or structures that offer new insights into the city's ancient inhabitants? And if so, what stories might emerge from these hidden spaces, bridging the gap between historical evidence and sacred narrative? The city also prompts reflection on continuity and transformation. Bethlehem has endured invasions, occupations, and waves of settlement, each leaving a mark on its landscape. Yet through all this, the city's identity as a place of both ordinary life and profound sacred significance has persisted. Could the patterns of habitation, ritual, and devotion observed in its stones, caves, and terraces illuminate broader patterns of settlement and belief across Palestine? And how might the hidden or unexcavated features of the city still preserve memories and meanings that have eluded scholars for centuries? As the sun sets over the hills of Bethlehem, casting soft light across ancient terraces and olive groves. One is struck by the interplay of presence and absence, visible and hidden. The city's stones, caves, and pathways bear witness to countless lives, yet their full stories remain partially obscured. What secrets lie buried beneath the streets, under layers of soil, stone, and devotion? Which caves may preserve artifacts, inscriptions, or traces of ritual practice waiting to be rediscovered? And what might these discoveries teach us about human life, faith, and continuity in this sacred landscape? Bethlehem, like the Pool of Siloam, the Western Wall, and Jerusalem itself, reminds us that hidden layers of history, devotion, and human endeavor remain embedded in the land. It challenges us to observe carefully, to question deeply, and to consider that the physical spaces of ancient communities are as much repositories of memory and faith as they are of stone and earth. The city's enduring mysteries call us to explore patiently, to listen attentively, and to wonder what stories remain hidden, patiently preserved beneath its streets, caves, and hillsides, waiting for those willing to seek them. From the rolling hills and sacred valleys of Bethlehem, our journey moves northward into the verdant hills of Nazareth, a city that emerges gently from the landscape of Palestine, cloaked in olive groves, vineyards, and the quiet hum of rural life. Unlike the bustling marketplaces of Jerusalem or the ancient terraces of Bethlehem, Nazareth is a place of subtle mystery, where narrow stone streets wind through homes and ancient foundations hint at the city's layered past. The hills rise around it, casting long shadows in the late afternoon sun, as if holding centuries of whispers from those who lived, labored, and worshipped here. Nazareth is most famously known for its association with sacred texts, yet its historical and archaeological footprint extends far beyond legend. Excavations indicate habitation as early as the Bronze Age, revealing dwellings, cisterns, and pottery that speak of a small but enduring settlement. How did this community, perched among hills and valleys, sustain itself across millennia? What patterns of life, trade, and worship shaped the city before it became enshrined in spiritual narrative? And could the artifacts still buried beneath the modern city reveal insights into daily life that have been obscured by centuries of reconstruction and veneration? Walking through Nazareth today, one is struck by the intimacy of its streets. Houses cluster together, their foundations often incorporating stones from earlier structures, suggesting a continuity of habitation that reaches back thousands of years. Archaeologists have uncovered remnants of stone-lined water channels, terraces for olive cultivation, and simple domestic tools. Each object tells a fragment of a story: the rhythm of daily life, the ingenuity of early builders, and the persistent interplay between human activity and the natural landscape. Yet many questions remain. Could there be earlier settlements hidden beneath the current city, preserving traces of life from periods that predate written records? And how might these discoveries reshape our understanding of Nazareth's role in the wider region? The city's landscape itself invites speculation. Hillsides, caves, and springs suggest a community attuned to the rhythms of nature. Ancient inhabitants likely used caves for shelter, storage, and perhaps ritual purposes, while terraces and channels illustrate careful management of water and arable land. Could some of these caves preserve objects, inscriptions, or traces of ritual practice long forgotten? And might the arrangement of terraces, homes, and public spaces reflect not only practical considerations, but also symbolic or spiritual intent, encoding beliefs and traditions that have faded from memory? Nazareth's later prominence as a sacred site adds layers of intrigue. The city became a focal point for pilgrims, scholars, and theologians, each leaving traces of devotion, architecture, and ritual practice. Churches, chapels, and monastic spaces were built atop older foundations, sometimes preserving, sometimes obscuring the evidence of earlier habitation. Could the foundations of these sacred structures contain remnants of pre-Christian Nazareth, tools, inscriptions, or artifacts that speak of the city's continuity, transformation, and resilience? And what might these hidden layers reveal about the intersection of faith, daily life, and urban development across centuries? Speculative theories surrounding Nazareth also enhance its mystery. Some researchers suggest that certain natural features, such as rock formations, caves, and terraced hills, may have had symbolic significance to its early inhabitants, influencing settlement patterns or spiritual practices. Were homes and communal spaces oriented with celestial or ritual considerations in mind? Did caves serve as places of meditation, initiation, or sacred observance in ways now lost to history? While definitive answers remain elusive, the possibility invites us to view Nazareth not merely as a geographic location, but as a landscape shaped by human imagination, devotion, and practical necessity. Archaeological finds hint at the city's role as both a residential and communal hub. Pottery, grinding stones, and domestic artifacts suggest ordinary daily life, while inscriptions and foundations of public or religious buildings indicate organized social structures. Could there be hidden spaces beneath streets and homes, waiting to reveal traces of community life, trade, or ritual activity that have remained buried for centuries? And what can these potential discoveries teach us about the rhythms of human life in a city that has been continuously inhabited, revered, and transformed over millennia? Nazareth's water sources are particularly intriguing. Springs, cisterns, and channels reveal an intimate understanding of hydrology and resource management, crucial in a region defined by hills and seasonal rainfall. These systems may have supported both domestic life and communal or ritual activities. Could undiscovered subterranean channels, reservoirs, or cisterns preserve evidence of engineering methods, ceremonial use, or daily life from antiquity? And might these hidden elements provide new perspectives on how inhabitants interacted with the landscape in ways both practical and spiritual? Walking today through Nazareth, it is possible to sense the layering of time. Modern streets and homes sit atop foundations that may stretch back thousands of years. Every step, every stone, every cave may hold fragments of life from centuries past. How much of this history is waiting to be revealed through careful excavation or observation? Could small artifacts, structural elements, or inscriptions provide glimpses into daily routines, religious practice, or social structures that have otherwise vanished from memory? And if so, what might these discoveries tell us about the broader history of Palestine and its interconnected communities? Even the city's hills and terraces invite reflection. They have witnessed shepherds tending flocks, farmers harvesting olives, and generations of inhabitants shaping the land. Could hidden terraces, caves, or other features preserve evidence of these past activities? Could they reveal aspects of ancient spiritual or communal life that are not recorded in texts, yet remain inscribed in stone, sediment, or architecture? The possibility of uncovering such traces challenges us to consider Nazareth not merely as a site of legend, but as a repository of human experience spanning millennia. As the sun dips behind the hills surrounding Nazareth, casting long shadows across terraces, olive groves, and ancient stonework, one is struck by the city's quiet persistence. Its stones, caves, and foundations whisper of daily life, labor, and faith. Yet the full story of Nazareth remains incomplete, layered with questions about its earliest inhabitants, hidden spaces, and the interplay between practical necessity and spiritual significance. What lies buried beneath its streets, homes, and hillsides? Which caves still hold the echoes of ancient rituals or daily activity? And what might these discoveries reveal about the continuity of human life, faith, and imagination in this enduring city? Nazareth, like Bethlehem, Jerusalem, and the Pool of Siloam, reminds us that history is not only written in texts, but etched into landscapes, foundations, and hidden spaces. It is a city where human ingenuity, devotion, and daily life converge, and where layers of mystery await the careful observer. What remains unseen, patiently preserved beneath stone, soil, and memory, may yet illuminate truths about the city's past, its people, and the sacred narratives intertwined with its hills and caves. From the quiet hills of Nazareth, where terraces, caves, and stone streets whisper of centuries past, our journey carries us westward, toward the shimmering coast of Palestine, where land meets the Mediterranean Sea. Here lies Caesarea Maritima, an ancient port city that rises from the waves as a monument to ambition, engineering, and the convergence of cultures. Today, its ruins scatter across a broad expanse of sand, stone, and water. Yet even in decay, the city speaks of grandeur, commerce, and mystery. Walking along its remnants, one senses the tides of history, carrying echoes of emperors, traders, and ordinary inhabitants who once navigated its bustling streets and harbors. Caesarea Maritima was commissioned by Herod the Great in the late 1st century BC, a bold undertaking that transformed a stretch of rocky coastline into a thriving city and naval port. Massive stone piers extend into the sea, remnants of a harbor engineered with hydraulic concrete, a technology that still fascinates modern engineers. How did Herod's builders master the challenges of tides, currents, and waves using the tools and knowledge of their era? Could there be submerged elements of the harbor, hidden foundations, or ancient vessels preserved beneath the sands, waiting to tell stories of maritime ingenuity and commerce? The city was designed not only as a commercial hub, but also as a cultural and administrative center. Palaces, theaters, and public spaces reflected the blending of Roman architectural ideals with local traditions. Excavations reveal mosaic floors, colonnades, and amphitheaters that testify to civic pride, artistry, and sophistication. Yet, beneath the visible ruins lie questions. How complete is our understanding of the city's original layout? Could there be hidden chambers, tunnels, or structural elements that might reveal more about daily life, ceremonial practices, or the social hierarchy of this coastal metropolis? Caesarea's harbor itself is a point of intrigue. Ancient texts describe it as capable of accommodating dozens of ships, vital for trade, military expeditions, and governance. Recent underwater surveys have revealed remnants of piers, breakwaters, and possible shipwrecks, hinting at a more complex maritime infrastructure than previously documented. What secrets lie beneath the waves? Could submerged vessels, anchors, or cargo still preserve traces of trade, diplomacy, or conflict from centuries ago? And might studying these remains alter our understanding of the city's role in regional and Mediterranean networks? The city's administrative significance adds another layer of mystery. As the capital of Roman administration in the region, Caesarea hosted governors, officials, and emissaries from distant provinces. Inscriptions, coins, and fragments of administrative buildings testify to governance, taxation, and civic life. Yet many structures remain partially unexplored, and some may be hidden beneath sand or later construction. What additional evidence might lie undiscovered, waiting to illuminate the interplay between local communities, imperial authority, and the rhythms of daily life in a bustling port city? Religious life in Caesarea also invites speculation. Archaeologists have uncovered evidence of temples, altars, and places of worship, yet the exact nature and placement of some of these structures remain debated. How did the residents of this diverse city negotiate the coexistence of multiple faiths, rituals, and sacred spaces? Could there be hidden chapels, underground sanctuaries, or inscriptions yet to be uncovered that reveal devotional practices now lost to time? And how might these discoveries illuminate the spiritual and social complexity of the city's inhabitants? Even the natural landscape played a role in shaping the city. The coastline, cliffs, and inland terraces dictated settlement patterns, defensive structures, and trade networks. Cisterns, aqueducts, and tunnels reveal a sophisticated understanding of water management, crucial for sustaining life and commerce. Could additional subterranean reservoirs, aqueduct sections, or water channels remain hidden, preserving evidence of hydraulic ingenuity and daily life from a bygone era? And might these features offer new perspectives on how ancient communities harmonized engineering with environmental challenges? The city's decline, while less celebrated than its construction, carries its own mysteries. Centuries of earthquakes, invasions, and shifting trade routes gradually transformed Caesarea from a vibrant hub to a quieter ruin. Yet the layering of destruction and rebuilding offers opportunities for discovery. Buried beneath collapsed structures, sediment, and rubble may lie artifacts that illuminate both moments of crisis and resilience. Could these remnants reveal unexpected aspects of urban life, maritime activity, or cultural exchange that have been overlooked for millennia? Walking along the exposed mosaics, crumbling walls, and fragmented amphitheaters, one can imagine the city in its prime. Merchants unloading goods from distant lands, officials overseeing civic affairs, and citizens attending performances or religious ceremonies. And yet, even in ruins, Caesarea retains a sense of wonder and possibility. What aspects of the city's original design, social fabric, or spiritual life have been lost, and what might remain hidden beneath layers of sediment, sand, and sea? Speculative interpretations suggest that Caesarea's builders may have embedded symbolic or cosmological elements into the city's design, aligning streets, plazas, or monuments with celestial events or imperial ideology. Could the positioning of key structures encode knowledge now forgotten, offering insight into the worldview and intentions of its architects? And might undiscovered inscriptions, reliefs, or artifacts provide new context for these choices, revealing a more nuanced picture of life, faith, and power in this extraordinary coastal city? Even today, Caesarea Maritima invites reflection on continuity, adaptation, and the impermanence of human endeavors. Its stones, mosaics, and submerged ruins bear witness to creativity, devotion, and ambition, yet also remind us of the inexorable passage of time. Could further exploration of both the terrestrial and underwater remains transform our understanding of trade, governance, and cultural exchange in ancient Palestine? And what other secrets, hidden beneath sand, stone, or waves, might wait to be uncovered by future generations of archaeologists and historians? As the sun dips toward the horizon, casting golden light across crumbling walls, mosaic floors, and the still waters of the ancient harbor, Caesarea Maritima stands as a silent testament to human ingenuity, faith, and resilience. Its ruins, both visible and hidden, challenge us to observe carefully, to question deeply, and to imagine the lives, stories, and mysteries that have been preserved across millennia. What lies beneath the stones and sands, beneath the waves lapping at the ancient piers? Which artifacts, inscriptions, or structural secrets remain undiscovered, awaiting those patient enough to uncover them? Caesarea Maritima, like Bethlehem, Nazareth, and Jerusalem, reminds us that history is layered, complex, and often partially hidden. Its grandeur, ingenuity, and spiritual resonance endure not only in texts and images, but in the very stones, mosaics, and water channels left behind. The city challenges us to explore, to listen, and to wonder, leaving open the possibility that the mysteries of its past may still reshape our understanding of human creativity, devotion, and urban life in this ancient land. From the coastal grandeur of Caesarea Maritima, where the Mediterranean laps against ancient piers and the ruins of harbors whisper of commerce and ambition, our journey turns inland toward the tranquil waters of the Sea of Galilee, where the small town of Capernaum rests quietly upon the northern shore. Unlike the bustling port cities or sprawling religious centers, Capernaum is modest in scale, yet it resonates with a profound historical and spiritual presence. Nestled among gently rolling hills, olive groves, and fertile fields, the town appears unassuming at first glance, but its stones, streets, and foundations carry the weight of centuries of human activity, devotion, and mystery. Archaeological evidence reveals that Capernaum was a thriving settlement from at least the 2nd century BC, continuing into the early centuries AD. Houses built of basalt and limestone line narrow streets, their foundations hinting at complex domestic arrangements, shared courtyards, and communal spaces. Some of these structures were later adapted for religious purposes, creating layers of habitation and devotion that blend seamlessly into the landscape. Walking through these remnants today, one senses the pulse of daily life long past: families tending livestock, merchants trading fish from the nearby lake, and artisans shaping stone, pottery, and textiles. Yet questions abound. Which buildings were primarily residential, which served communal or ritual purposes, and how did the town's layout reflect social, economic, and spiritual hierarchies? Central to Capernaum's enduring significance is its connection to sacred narratives. It is described as a place where teachings, healings, and gatherings took place, and where ordinary streets became spaces of extraordinary encounters. Archaeologists have uncovered a synagogue dating to the 4th or 5th century AD, built atop earlier structures that may have served similar purposes. The precision of the stonework, the intricate carvings, and the remnants of inscriptions suggest careful planning, symbolism, and reverence. Could elements of the earlier synagogue, or even older structures beneath it, contain clues to religious practices, community leadership, or social organization that have been lost to time? And might hidden artifacts within these foundations illuminate moments of everyday life intertwined with extraordinary spiritual significance? The town's proximity to the Sea of Galilee adds layers of mystery. The lake was both a source of sustenance and a conduit for travel, connecting Capernaum to other communities, trade routes, and distant regions. Fishermen's tools, amphorae, and remnants of piers suggest an economy closely tied to the water, yet the interplay between livelihood and ritual remains elusive. Were certain areas of the lake shore designated for ceremonial or communal activities? Could submerged docks, vessels, or deposits beneath the lake reveal practices, trade networks, or encounters previously unknown? And how might such discoveries challenge or expand our understanding of daily life along the northern shore of Palestine? Capernaum's domestic architecture itself offers clues and questions. Excavations have revealed multi-room houses, stone benches, storage niches, and hearths, all indicating sophisticated planning and adaptation to social and environmental needs. Some houses were later converted into religious or commemorative spaces, their walls preserving the memory of generations in stone. Could further exploration uncover hidden rooms, staircases, or underground chambers that reveal previously unseen aspects of family life, ritual practice, or civic activity? And what might subtle traces of plaster, tool marks, or inscriptions tell us about the artisans, builders, and residents who shaped the town over centuries? Speculative theories enhance the intrigue of Capernaum. Some researchers propose that certain houses may have been sites of instruction, small gatherings, or early communal worship before the construction of formal synagogues. Could subterranean spaces or walls conceal inscriptions, symbols, or artifacts that provide insight into private devotional practices, community organization, or spiritual life in a small but significant town? And if so, how might these findings shed light on the relationship between domestic space and sacred activity in the broader region? The natural landscape around Capernaum is equally revealing. Hillsides, springs, and agricultural terraces illustrate a community attuned to its environment. Cisterns and channels suggest careful water management, ensuring both domestic use and agricultural productivity. Could additional hidden cisterns, channels, or water storage facilities preserve evidence of engineering skill, ritual purification practices, or community planning? And might such discoveries reveal connections between the town's physical layout and spiritual or ceremonial life that are not immediately apparent? Artifacts uncovered in Capernaum, from pottery shards to coins and small tools, hint at daily routines, trade, and social structures. Yet they leave unanswered questions. How did residents balance practical survival with religious observance? Were certain neighborhoods or buildings reserved for ritual or communal use? Could there be deposits, caches, or hidden objects still buried beneath streets, foundations, or agricultural terraces that reveal unseen dimensions of life in this ancient town? Walking through the excavated streets today, the layering of history is palpable. The basalt stones, remnants of walls, and foundational elements offer a tangible connection to those who lived, worked, and worshipped here centuries ago. The town's modest scale contrasts with its profound cultural and spiritual resonance, creating a space where ordinary life intersects with extraordinary narrative. Could hidden chambers, unexcavated rooms, or subtle structural features provide further insights into the town's population, social networks, or religious practices? And what might these discoveries reveal about the broader fabric of Galilean communities in antiquity? Even the town's relationship to nearby settlements, trade routes, and sacred sites adds depth to the mystery. Capernaum was part of a network of communities along the northern shores of the Sea of Galilee, connected by land and water. How did interaction with neighboring towns, markets, and pilgrim routes influence daily life, belief, and economic activity? Could artifacts or inscriptions yet to be discovered provide insight into cross-community relations, trade agreements, or shared religious practices? And how might these connections illuminate the town's significance beyond its immediate geography? As the sun sets over the Sea of Galilee, casting long shadows across the ancient stones and terraces of Capernaum, the town stands as both a witness and a mystery. Its houses, streets, and synagogues speak of ordinary human life, yet they also hint at encounters, teachings, and devotion that transcend time. What remains hidden beneath the stones, soil, and water of this lakeside settlement? Which rooms, chambers, or artifacts preserve stories that have yet to be told? And what might these discoveries reveal about the continuity of human experience, faith, and community along the northern shores of Palestine? Capernaum, like Bethlehem, Nazareth, and Caesarea Maritima, reminds us that history is layered, complex, and often partially obscured. Its stones, streets, and foundations carry both visible and hidden stories, inviting us to look closer, question deeply, and wonder patiently. What secrets remain submerged beneath the soil, within walls, or beneath the lake's gentle waters? And which of these mysteries might yet reshape our understanding of life, faith, and human ingenuity in this quiet but enduring town? But from the tranquil shores of Capernaum, where narrow streets and basalt stones whisper the echoes of daily life and devotion, our journey stretches far to the east, into the alluvial plains of Babylon, one of the most storied cities of the ancient world. Rising from the flat, fertile expanse of the Euphrates, Babylon emerges in the imagination as both monumental and enigmatic, a city of brick, water, and sky, where human ambition and spiritual aspiration converged in astonishing ways. Today, its ruins lie scattered across sandy plains, yet the scale of its past splendor can still be felt in the remains of walls, canals, and platforms that hint at the grandeur and mystery of a civilization that once shaped empires. Babylon's history stretches back millennia, with evidence of settlement as early as 2300 BC. By the 18th century BC, it had become a regional power under Hammurabi, whose code of law left an indelible mark on human civilization. Later, during the Neo-Babylonian period under Nebuchadnezzar II in the 6th century BC, the city reached unprecedented heights of political, cultural, and architectural achievement. Enormous walls, towering gates, and monumental temples transformed the city into a symbol of might and divine favor. Yet, despite these extraordinary constructions, much of Babylon's daily life, its domestic routines, marketplaces, workshops, and religious observances, remains elusive. Could unexplored layers of the city preserve traces of these ordinary lives alongside the extraordinary monuments? The city's famed walls, some extending over 80 feet high and encircling the urban landscape, were both practical and symbolic. They protected inhabitants, projected power, and likely conveyed spiritual significance. Archaeologists have uncovered remnants of gates adorned with inscriptions and reliefs depicting divine creatures and royal authority. Yet these visible remains hint at hidden dimensions. What secrets might lie beneath collapsed sections of wall, beneath streets, or within subsurface chambers? Could layers of construction, repair, and adaptation preserve artifacts or inscriptions that reveal previously unknown aspects of administration, military planning, or religious practice? Perhaps most captivating are the legendary gardens, often associated with the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, described by classical historians as a marvel of irrigation, design, and horticultural skill. Though their precise location remains debated, recent excavations and satellite imaging suggest sophisticated water channels, reservoirs, and platforms that hint at large-scale engineering feats. Could these subterranean or partially buried structures hold remnants of ancient plantings, irrigation mechanisms, or ritual installations? And might they reveal how the city's inhabitants interacted with both nature and divine symbolism, blending practical innovation with spiritual or aesthetic purpose? Babylon's canals and waterways also speak of ingenuity. Dug to control flooding, transport goods, and sustain agriculture, these channels shaped daily life and urban planning. Remains of bridges, docks, and wharves suggest bustling trade, movement, and connection across the city and region. Could additional canals, submerged structures, or hidden basins preserve evidence of navigation, commerce, or ritual practice now obscured beneath sediment? And how might these discoveries illuminate the rhythms of urban life, linking the monumental to the mundane in ways often overlooked in classical accounts? Religious and ceremonial life in Babylon was equally complex. Temples and ziggurats, massive stepped platforms reaching toward the sky, served as both civic and spiritual centers. Excavations have revealed altars, inscriptions, and foundations that hint at ritual activity, yet many structures remain only partially explored. Could hidden chambers, stairways, or crypts preserve artifacts, offerings, or inscriptions that shed light on worship, festivals, or priestly administration? And how might these finds illuminate the intersection of politics, spirituality, and daily life in a city of unparalleled significance? Speculative theories surrounding Babylon's design and function add further intrigue. Some researchers suggest that its layout, with streets aligned to cardinal directions and key temples positioned according to celestial phenomena, may encode knowledge of astronomy, cosmology, or religious symbolism. Could layers of buried streets, platforms, or monuments preserve evidence of such intentional alignment, offering insight into how ancient Babylonians perceived their place in the cosmos? And might undiscovered inscriptions, artifacts, or reliefs reveal the intellectual, spiritual, and practical sophistication of a society whose written records have only partially survived? Even everyday artifacts, from clay tablets to pottery, reveal tantalizing fragments of life. Cuneiform tablets, Administrative records and personal letters hint at trade, family, and governance, yet vast quantities likely remain buried in unexcavated sections of the city. Could hidden archives, sealed storerooms, or undisturbed domestic spaces preserve a more complete record of Babylonian society, economy, and belief? And how might such discoveries deepen our understanding of a city often viewed only through its grandeur, revealing the textures of ordinary existence alongside imperial ambition? Babylon's decline, while often dramatic in historical accounts, is equally layered with mystery. Conquests, floods, and changing political centers gradually reduced the city's prominence, leaving structures partially buried and pathways obscured. Yet in these layers of abandonment and reconstruction may lie clues to resilience, adaptation, and the persistence of memory. Could collapsed foundations, buried streets, or sedimented temples preserve evidence of transitional periods, revealing how residents adapted to catastrophe and maintained continuity in faith, commerce, or community life? Walking among the ruins today, one is struck by contrasts. Monumental walls and ziggurats alongside fragments of domestic homes, ceremonial gates beside layers of sand and rubble, traces of canals next to cultivated terraces. Babylon, like Capernaum, Nazareth, and Caesarea Maritima, embodies a layering of human ambition, daily life, and spiritual endeavor. How many stories lie hidden beneath this sediment, waiting to reveal the interweaving of political power, ritual devotion, and ordinary existence? Could new excavations or technologies uncover chambers, inscriptions, or artifacts that transform our understanding of Babylon's legacy? As the desert sun sets over the Euphrates plain, casting long shadows across mud-brick foundations, collapsed walls, and scattered artifacts, Babylon stands as a silent testament to human ingenuity, faith, and impermanence. Its stones, canals, and terraces speak to ambition, devotion, and resilience, yet they also conceal mysteries still beyond our reach. What lies buried beneath the layers of sand and soil? Which artifacts, inscriptions, or hidden structures wait to tell their stories? And what might they reveal about human life, governance, and spirituality in a city that has captivated the imagination of the world for millennia? Babylon, like Bethlehem, Nazareth, Caesarea Maritima, and Capernaum, reminds us that history is not only recorded in texts or monuments, but layered in streets, walls, canals, and sediment. Its enduring mysteries challenge us to observe, question, and imagine, offering the possibility that secrets of its people, rituals, and ambitions remain patiently preserved, waiting for those willing to uncover them. From the vast plains where Babylon once towered along the Euphrates, our journey returns westward, across the ancient lands of Palestine, to a site that rises like a sentinel over the Jezreel Valley, Tel Megiddo. Its layered mound, known as a tell, is composed of thousands of years of human settlement, each layer a chapter of ambition, conquest, and survival. From a distance, the mound appears modest, a gentle rise in the fertile valley, yet beneath its surface lies a labyrinth of civilizations, carefully stacked over millennia. Walking along its contours today, one is struck by the impression of continuity and change, as if each generation built atop the memory and effort of the one before. Archaeological evidence shows that Megiddo was inhabited as early as 5000 BC, and over time became a key city in trade, military strategy, and spiritual life. Its location, where valleys converge and trade routes intersect, made it a focal point for armies, merchants, and pilgrims alike. Stone foundations, gates, and streets reveal sophisticated urban planning, while storage pits, domestic remains, and artifacts hint at the rhythm of everyday life. How did such a strategically placed city sustain itself across countless generations of settlement, siege, and reconstruction? Could layers of Megiddo yet to be excavated preserve insights into commerce, governance, and social organization that have remained hidden for centuries? One of the most striking features of Tel Megiddo is its series of massive gates and fortifications, some of which date back to the Middle Bronze Age. These structures demonstrate advanced engineering, thick walls, vaulted chambers, and multi-tiered gates designed for both defense and display. Could there be additional subterranean features, hidden rooms, storage areas, or tunnels, preserving the practices of soldiers, guards, or administrators who once controlled the flow of people and goods through the city? And might these discoveries shed light on the interplay between urban planning, security, and symbolism in ancient civilizations? Water systems at Megiddo also reveal remarkable ingenuity. Cisterns and channels carved deep into the bedrock ensured a reliable water supply during sieges, while possibly serving ritual or communal purposes. Could further exploration uncover additional cisterns, wells, or subterranean channels, preserving evidence of engineering skill and daily life that remains invisible above ground? And might these hidden spaces offer glimpses into the social organization, priorities, and resilience of a city that faced repeated conflict and environmental challenges? Trade and economic life leave tantalizing traces. Pottery, weights, and remnants of imported goods suggest Megiddo's connections with distant regions, including the Levant, Mesopotamia, and Egypt. Could unexcavated areas of the Tel hold additional evidence of trade networks, storage facilities, or artisanal workshops that reveal how this city thrived at the crossroads of commerce and culture? And how might such findings reshape our understanding of ancient economic and social connectivity in Palestine? Religious and ceremonial life is another layer of mystery. Excavations have revealed altars, temples, and possible shrines. Yet the precise purposes and practices associated with these spaces remain debated. Were certain areas of the city reserved for public ritual, private devotion, or initiation rites? Could unexcavated chambers, basements, or offerings preserve evidence of worship practices now lost to history? And how might these discoveries illuminate the spiritual lives of ordinary residents, as well as rulers who sought to consolidate authority through sacred architecture? Megiddo's long history of conflict adds yet another dimension to its mystery. The city was the site of numerous battles, both documented in historical texts and suggested by archaeological evidence. Burn layers, collapsed walls, and mass destruction deposits hint at sieges and conflagrations. Could careful excavation of these layers reveal more about the strategies, weapons, and human experiences of warfare across centuries? Might skeletal remains, tools, or artifacts preserve stories of those who lived and died amid these tumultuous events? Speculative theories also invite us to consider Megiddo's symbolic significance. Some scholars argue that the city's repeated prominence in historical texts and its strategic location gave it a mythic dimension, intertwined with prophecy and collective memory. Could certain structural alignments, ceremonial spaces, or inscriptions encode symbolic meaning yet to be uncovered? Might underground chambers, ritual deposits, or hidden artifacts preserve a record of beliefs, omens, or sacred practices that ordinary surfaces cannot reveal? Even the domestic architecture of Megiddo tells a story of resilience and adaptation. Multi-room houses, courtyards, storage pits, and hearths suggest ordinary lives lived amidst extraordinary events. Yet the full picture remains incomplete. Could hidden rooms, cellars, or buried neighborhoods preserve details of family life, artisanal activity, or community organization that have been lost through centuries of settlement, destruction, and rebuilding? And what might these discoveries teach us about continuity and change in the daily rhythms of life over thousands of years? Walking today across the summit of the Tel, it is possible to sense the layering of human ambition, labor, and faith. Each stratum of stone, mud brick, or pottery represents generations who shaped the city according to environmental, social, and spiritual needs. How much remains hidden beneath the surface, awaiting discovery through excavation or modern technology? Could unexamined areas of the mound preserve evidence of ancient roads, religious spaces, administrative centers, or residential complexes that challenge our current understanding of Megiddo's history? Even the surrounding Jezreel Valley contributes to Megiddo's story. Fertile fields, nearby springs, and strategic hills created conditions for both agriculture and military maneuvering, shaping the city's economy, defense, and urban layout. Could unexplored terraces, irrigation channels, or landscape modifications preserve insights into land management, ritual activity, or seasonal patterns of settlement? And how might these findings connect the urban center to its wider environment, revealing the interplay between human ingenuity and natural resources? As the afternoon sun casts long shadows over the mound, gates, and terraces, Tel Megiddo stands as both a monument and a mystery. Its layers, walls, and buried chambers hint at ambition, devotion, and resilience, yet they conceal countless stories still waiting to be told. What lies hidden beneath centuries of accumulated soil, stone, and debris? Which rooms, artifacts, or structural secrets remain untouched, preserving traces of everyday life, spiritual practice, and historical events? And how might these discoveries reshape our understanding of urban, military, and religious life in one of the most strategically significant cities of ancient Palestine? Tel Megiddo, like Capernaum, Babylon, and Caesarea Maritima, reminds us that history is layered, complex, and only partially visible. Its stones, foundations, and buried spaces carry stories both known and unknown, inviting us to look closer, question more deeply, and imagine patiently. Which mysteries lie dormant beneath its summit, and what revelations might await those who uncover them? In Megiddo, as in many hidden biblical locations, the past is never fully silent. It continues to speak, if only we listen carefully enough. From the sun-baked plains of the Jezreel Valley and the layered mound of Tel Megiddo, our journey moves southward into the rugged hills of Palestine, where the ancient city of Hebron rises amid olive groves, limestone cliffs, and winding streets. Unlike the coastal ports or fertile valleys we have explored, Hebron presents a sense of permanence, a city carved into the hills, shaped by centuries of human habitation, devotion, and trade. From a distance, its rooftops blend with the landscape, yet the city's history runs deep, like veins of stone and memory woven into every street, stairway, and terrace. Walking through its alleys today, one feels the pulse of countless generations, farmers, merchants, pilgrims, and rulers, each leaving traces that both endure and fade with time. Hebron's settlement history stretches back to the 3rd millennium BC, making it one of the oldest continuously inhabited sites in the region. Excavations reveal layers upon layers of occupation. Domestic structures built of limestone, storage pits filled with pottery fragments, and walls whose foundations hold secrets of early civic planning. The city's strategic location, perched on a series of hills overlooking the surrounding valleys, provided both defense and access to trade routes connecting the southern highlands with the coastal plains. Could additional layers of settlement, still buried beneath modern streets or rubble, preserve untold stories of daily life, governance, or ritual activity across millennia? One of Hebron's most enduring features is its religious significance. The city is closely associated with figures central to biblical narratives, and sacred traditions have drawn pilgrims, scholars, and devotees for centuries. Archaeologists have identified structures and architectural remnants that may correlate with these narratives, yet much remains open to interpretation. How did early inhabitants integrate faith and domestic life? Could unexcavated chambers, hidden courtyards, or subsurface constructions preserve artifacts or inscriptions that illuminate practices now obscured by time? And might these finds deepen our understanding of the ways in which religious devotion shaped not only spiritual life, but also urban design and community organization? Hebron's urban fabric offers a unique window into ancient civic planning. Narrow alleys wind between clusters of houses, public spaces, and terraces, suggesting a careful balance between defense, accessibility, and community cohesion. Some buildings feature multiple rooms, storage areas, and hearths, while others bear traces of later modifications that indicate shifting populations and evolving social structures. Could additional buried homes, stairways, or communal spaces reveal nuances of social hierarchy, domestic life, or economic activity that remain invisible above ground? And how might the layering of construction, destruction, and reconstruction illuminate the city's resilience in the face of centuries of political and environmental change? The surrounding landscape of Hebron also invites investigation. Hills, valleys, and water sources shaped settlement patterns, agriculture, and trade. Ancient terraces, cisterns, and aqueducts demonstrate ingenuity in water management, essential for sustaining populations in a semi-arid environment. Could further exploration uncover hidden cisterns, channels, or reservoirs, preserving evidence of engineering skill and daily life? And might these discoveries provide insight into the ways communities adapted to the landscape, balancing practicality, ritual needs, and the rhythms of nature? Archaeological excavations have uncovered fortifications, gates, and defensive walls, some dating back to the Bronze and Iron Ages. These structures testify to Hebron's role as both a civic center and a contested site, repeatedly impacted by conquest, migration, and political change. Yet these visible fortifications are only part of the story. Could hidden tunnels, subterranean chambers, or buried bastions preserve insights into strategies of defense, civic planning, or even ritualized displays of power? And how might these finds reshape our understanding of Hebron's role in regional politics, trade, and spiritual life? Trade and craftsmanship also left subtle traces. Pottery shards, figurines, weights, and tools hint at commercial exchange and artisanal production, yet many areas remain unexcavated or inaccessible. Could additional caches, workshops, or storage areas reveal new details about the economy, industry, and daily life of Hebron's inhabitants across millennia? And how might these findings illuminate the city's connections with neighboring settlements, the broader highlands, and distant regions of the ancient Near East? Religious and ceremonial practices continue to deepen Hebron's mystery. Sacred spaces, both known and conjectured, suggest complex rituals, pilgrimages, and communal gatherings. Yet the full extent of these practices remains hidden. Could buried altars, hidden shrines, or unexamined chambers preserve tangible evidence of ancient devotion, prayer, or offerings? And how might such discoveries inform our understanding of Hebron's spiritual landscape, revealing how sacred practice and civic life intertwined in profound, yet often invisible ways? Speculative interpretations of Hebron's urban and ritual layout invite further inquiry. Some scholars propose that street alignments, terraces, or architectural features may have had symbolic, astronomical, or cosmological significance. Could hidden foundations, staircases, or inscriptions preserve knowledge of these alignments or the intentions of city planners and religious leaders? And might such evidence illuminate the ways in which faith, governance, and environmental adaptation intersected in shaping Hebron's identity across centuries? Even in its quieter corners, Hebron's layers of history are palpable. Residential areas, agricultural terraces, and communal spaces reveal the lived experience of ordinary people. Farmers tending olive groves, merchants trading goods, children learning the rhythms of domestic life. Could further excavation uncover hidden rooms, underground storage, or forgotten artifacts that provide richer insights into daily routines and social networks? And what might these discoveries reveal about the resilience, ingenuity, and continuity of communities navigating both prosperity and turmoil. The city's long history of conquest and conflict adds additional layers of intrigue. Evidence of destruction, rebuilding, and modification appears throughout the Tel, reflecting cycles of political upheaval, population shifts, and environmental adaptation. Could buried layers of destruction preserve overlooked artifacts, inscriptions, or domestic remains, illuminating both crisis and recovery in ways that written records cannot capture? And might such findings offer new perspectives on the human experience of resilience and adaptation over millennia? Walking through Hebron's streets today, one senses the interplay of permanence and impermanence, the enduring stones, terraces, and walls contrasted with the ephemeral lives, stories, and rituals they once held. Its landscape, sacred sites, and urban fabric bear witness to a city that has shaped human experience for thousands of years. What remains hidden beneath streets, foundations, and terraces, waiting to reveal untold stories of devotion, governance, and daily life? Which chambers, inscriptions, or artifacts lie undiscovered, silently preserving a record of human ambition, faith, and resilience? Hebron, like Tel Megiddo, Babylon, and Capernaum, reminds us that history is layered, complex, and often partially obscured. Its streets, walls, and terraces carry the stories of rulers, merchants, farmers, and pilgrims, yet countless mysteries remain beneath the surface. Could new excavations, technological surveys, or careful study reveal hidden layers of urban planning, sacred practice, and social life? And what might these discoveries teach us about continuity, adaptation, and the interplay of human ingenuity and faith across millennia in the hills of Palestine? As the sun sinks behind the limestone hills, casting long shadows across rooftops, terraces, and ancient walls, Hebron stands as a silent witness to human history. Its layers, both visible and hidden, speak of devotion, labor, and resilience, yet the city's deepest secrets remain elusive. What stories have been preserved beneath centuries of habitation, rubble, and soil? Which forgotten chambers, objects, or inscriptions might finally reveal the rhythms, beliefs, and experiences of those who lived here so long ago? And how might these revelations transform our understanding of one of Palestine's oldest, most sacred, and enduring cities? From the ancient hills of Hebron, where terraces, rooftops, and winding alleys speak of millennia of life and devotion, our journey moves northward into the fertile heart of Palestine, to a city whose history is as layered and complex as the land itself, Shechem. Perched strategically between the imposing peaks of Mount Ebal and Mount Gerizim, Shechem rises from the surrounding plains with a quiet dignity. Its olive groves, orchards, and rocky outcrops give the city a sense of permanence, even as the stones beneath the surface guard secrets of countless generations. Though modest from afar, the site exudes a profound resonance, hinting at millennia of human settlement, spiritual activity, and political significance, hidden beneath its calm exterior. Shechem's roots extend deep into the past. Archaeological evidence traces occupation to at least the 4th millennium BC, revealing a city that endured through the rise and fall of kingdoms, the shifting of trade routes, and the ebb and flow of human settlement. Layers of stone, pottery, and ash preserve fragments of daily life, homes with multiple rooms, storage pits for grain, streets paved with basalt, and public spaces that hint at administrative organization. How did communities maintain continuity across centuries of change and upheaval? Could unexcavated sections of the Tel hold remnants of buildings, artifacts, or inscriptions that illuminate daily routines, governance, and communal organization lost to time? The city's geography reveals both its practical and symbolic importance. Nestled between Mount Gerizim and Mount Ebal, Shechem occupies a natural corridor that connects the Jordan Valley to the northern highlands and coastal regions. This positioning made it a center for trade, a focal point for armies, and a crossroads for cultures. Could hidden terraces, roads, or buried platforms preserve evidence of commerce, military movement, or ceremonial activity? Might these layers reveal how ancient inhabitants understood, navigated, and transformed the landscape to suit both practical and spiritual needs? Religious life has long defined Shechem's identity. Sacred texts associate the city with foundational events, from the covenantal acts of early patriarchs to public altars and assembly spaces that mark communal devotion. Archaeologists have uncovered remnants of shrines, altars, and possible ritual platforms, yet much of the city's spiritual life remains elusive. Were certain areas reserved for pilgrimage or instruction? Did private devotion coexist with public ceremony in ways now invisible to us? Could subterranean chambers, hidden sanctuaries, or buried offerings preserve traces of rituals, prayers, or symbolic acts that continue to inform Shechem's legacy today? Fortifications add another dimension to Shechem's mystery. Thick walls, towers, and gates testify to its role as both a defensive stronghold and a political hub. Yet these structures also provoke questions. Were they purely functional, or did they also carry ceremonial or symbolic significance? Could unexcavated foundations conceal guard chambers, underground passages, or ceremonial spaces integrated into defensive architecture? Might buried inscriptions, reliefs, or symbolic markers reveal the interplay of authority, ritual, and civic planning that shaped the city across centuries? Water management and engineering demonstrate the ingenuity of Shechem's inhabitants. Ancient cisterns, channels, and reservoirs carved into bedrock ensured a reliable supply for domestic and agricultural use, while potentially supporting ritual practices as well. Could undiscovered cisterns, hidden channels, or water-related structures preserve evidence of both practical engineering and ceremonial intention? How did the city's planners reconcile the rhythms of nature with urban and spiritual life, and what remains buried beneath layers of sediment and stone that could answer this question? Trade and industry left subtle yet telling traces across Shechem. Pottery shards, weights, tools, and imported goods hint at connections with regions as distant as Mesopotamia and Egypt. Could unexcavated areas conceal workshops, marketplaces, or storage facilities that illuminate the city's economic networks? And might these discoveries provide insight into the daily lives of artisans, merchants, and laborers who contributed to Shechem's vitality, weaving ordinary existence into the fabric of an extraordinary city? Shechem's topography itself seems to hold symbolic resonance. Positioned between two sacred mountains, the city may have functioned as a nexus of spiritual geography, aligning human settlement with celestial or ritual order. Could buried altars, ceremonial pathways, or hidden inscriptions reveal deliberate spatial symbolism? Might we uncover traces of rituals, processions, or sacred markers that connected the city's civic and spiritual life in ways modern eyes have yet to appreciate? Even the domestic architecture offers mysteries. Houses, courtyards, and communal spaces reveal the rhythms of everyday life, yet large portions of the city remain unexcavated or buried beneath modern occupation. Could hidden rooms, storage areas, or basements preserve untold details of family life, artisanal production, or community interaction? What might these discoveries reveal about resilience, adaptation, and continuity among ordinary people living under the shadow of sacred mountains and political upheaval? Conflict and conquest leave indelible marks on Shechem's layers. Burned foundations, collapsed walls, and destruction deposits hint at sieges and transitions of power. Could careful excavation of these layers reveal further evidence of military strategy, urban adaptation, or human experience during turbulent times? Might skeletal remains, tools, or scattered artifacts preserve stories of those who lived, fought, and rebuilt within this city, connecting past lives with the present landscape? Speculative theories add yet another layer of intrigue. Some scholars suggest that Shechem's street alignments, terraces, and gates may have encoded astronomical, symbolic, or cosmological knowledge. Could buried streets, platforms, or stairways preserve evidence of such intentional design? And might undiscovered inscriptions or reliefs reveal knowledge, ritual, or beliefs that illuminate how inhabitants understood their place within the cosmos and the sacred geography of Palestine? Walking among Shechem's ruins today, one is struck by contrasts. Monumental gates beside modest homes, terraces above scattered artifacts, sacred spaces next to utilitarian structures. Each layer of occupation tells a story of continuity and change, ambition and devotion, daily life and spiritual practice. Yet beneath the surface lie countless untold stories. What chambers, inscriptions, or artifacts remain hidden beneath centuries of settlement, rubble, and soil? And how might these discoveries transform our understanding of human life, ritual, and governance in one of the most historically rich cities of Palestine? Shechem, like Hebron, Tel Megiddo, and Capernaum, reminds us that history is both visible and concealed. Its stones, terraces, and foundations preserve human effort, faith, and memory, yet they also invite inquiry, imagination, and discovery. Could new excavations, advanced surveying techniques, or careful archaeological study uncover layers that rewrite our understanding of Shechem's social, religious, and political life? Which secrets lie beneath its streets, beneath the shadow of sacred mountains, awaiting revelation? And how might these findings illuminate the intersection of human endeavor, spiritual devotion, and the enduring mystery of life in Palestine across millennia? As the sun casts long shadows over olive groves, terraces, and stone walls, Shechem stands as both monument and enigma. Its surface speaks, yet its deepest stories remain hidden, patiently waiting for those who will uncover them. What truths lie beneath? What rituals? What lives? What stories of devotion, governance, and resilience have yet to emerge? In Shechem, as in so many hidden biblical locations, the past is never silent. It endures, layered and waiting for the patient observer to listen. From the rolling hills and sacred valleys of central Palestine, where Shechem rests between Mount Ebal and Mount Gerizim, our journey extends northeast toward one of the most enduring cities of the ancient Near East, Damascus. Nestled along the banks of the Barada River and shielded by the anti-Lebanon mountains, Damascus rises like a jewel of stone and history in the fertile Ghouta oasis. Its streets, lanes, and alleys, some narrow and shadowed, others wide and sunlit, carry the footprints of countless generations. From a distance, the city appears as a harmonious sprawl of stone, stucco, and terracotta. Yet beneath its surface lies a labyrinth of buried structures, relics, and inscriptions that speak of millennia of life, trade, and faith. Walking through Damascus today, one can almost sense the layers of human endeavor pressing upward from the soil, each layer a silent testament to continuity, resilience, and devotion. Archaeological evidence reveals that Damascus is among the world's oldest continuously inhabited cities, with settlement dating back to at least 4,300 BC. Over these millennia, it has witnessed the rise and fall of empires, the passage of merchants along trade routes, the spread of ideas, and the flow of pilgrims. Excavations have uncovered remnants of houses, walls, and streets that demonstrate early urban planning, yet vast portions of the city's history remain buried. Could unexcavated neighborhoods preserve artifacts that illuminate the daily rhythms of life across the ages, from the Bronze Age to the present? Might we find evidence of marketplaces, domestic spaces, or civic centers that reveal how the inhabitants of Damascus balanced commerce, ritual, and governance? The Barada River, lifeblood of the city, has shaped Damascus for millennia. Its waters enabled agriculture, fueled trade and supported densely populated urban life. Cisterns, aqueducts, and irrigation channels demonstrate the ingenuity of ancient engineers, yet many remain hidden beneath modern streets. Could further exploration uncover concealed waterworks, wells, or underground reservoirs that reveal both practical and ceremonial functions? How did these systems influence settlement patterns, social organization, and spiritual practice? And what might undiscovered infrastructure reveal about the way ancient societies in Damascus adapted to environmental challenges while maintaining the city's vitality? Damascus has long been a crossroads of cultures, trade, and spiritual life. Archaeological finds attest to extensive connections with Mesopotamia, Egypt, Anatolia, and the Levant. Imported ceramics, weights, tools, and ornaments suggest a city engaged in far-reaching networks of commerce and diplomacy. Could unexplored layers of the city contain workshops, storage rooms, or administrative archives that preserve details of economic, political, or artisanal life? And might these finds illuminate the social structures and daily routines that sustained Damascus as a hub of culture and commerce for thousands of years? Religious life has been central to Damascus since antiquity. The city is closely associated with sacred texts, prophets, and historical narratives, and its architecture has reflected centuries of devotion. Temples, shrines, and sacred precincts once dotted the cityscape, their foundations echoing rituals that may now be lost. Could buried sanctuaries, hidden altars, or subterranean ritual spaces preserve evidence of religious practice, prayer, or offerings? How might these discoveries illuminate the spiritual rhythms of a city that has been a center of faith for millennia, revealing the interplay of devotion, civic life, and sacred space? Damascus's fortifications and gates add yet another layer of fascination. Walls, towers, and bastions, some dating back to the Bronze Age, testify to periods of conflict, conquest, and consolidation. Yet they also raise questions. Were some structures designed primarily for defense, while others held ceremonial or symbolic significance? Could unexcavated foundations conceal hidden chambers, defensive tunnels, or ceremonial platforms? Might inscriptions, reliefs, or symbolic markers provide insight into how rulers, priests, and citizens understood power, security, and divine protection in the urban landscape of Damascus? Even domestic life offers mysteries. Excavated homes reveal multi-room dwellings, courtyards, hearths, and storage spaces, hinting at routines, social hierarchies, and family dynamics. Yet the full picture remains incomplete. Could hidden rooms, basements, or courtyards preserve traces of daily life that have vanished from memory? Might we uncover artifacts that illuminate ordinary existence, artisanal labor, and domestic practices, bridging the gap between monumental history and lived experience in Damascus? Conflict and conquest have repeatedly reshaped the city. Burn layers, collapsed walls, and destruction deposits hint at battles, sieges, and political upheavals. Could further excavation reveal forgotten moments of resilience or crisis? Might skeletal remains, weapons, or artifacts offer new insights into the lived experience of war, migration, and survival across centuries? And how did such events leave subtle traces in the urban fabric, influencing construction, settlement patterns, and social organization? Speculative interpretations of Damascus's layout invite further inquiry. Some scholars propose that streets, gates, and sacred precincts may have aligned with celestial patterns, symbolic markers, or ritual pathways. Could undiscovered foundations, terraces, or hidden inscriptions reveal evidence of intentional design beyond the practical? And might these finds illuminate the ways in which human communities encoded religious, political, and cosmological understanding into the very structure of the city? Even the surrounding oasis adds layers of intrigue. Fertile land, water sources, and natural defenses shaped settlement patterns and facilitated agriculture, trade, and defense. Could unexcavated terraces, hidden irrigation channels, or lost orchards preserve evidence of land use, ritual offerings, or seasonal agricultural cycles? And how might such findings illuminate the interplay between environment, human ingenuity, and spiritual life across the history of Damascus? Walking through the ancient streets today, one senses Damascus as a city of continuity and contrast. Its monumental walls coexist with modest homes, sacred precincts with marketplaces, terraces with hidden chambers. Each layer, visible or buried, preserves echoes of ambition, devotion, labor, and creativity. Yet countless mysteries remain beneath the surface, waiting to reveal stories of governance, ritual, commerce, and daily life. What remains undiscovered beneath centuries of construction, renovation, and occupation? Which inscriptions, objects, or chambers might finally illuminate the lived experience of Damascus's inhabitants through the ages? Damascus, like Shechem, Hebron, and Tel Megiddo, reminds us that history is layered, often concealed beneath the familiar. Its streets, walls, and foundations are silent witnesses to human endeavor, yet they also invite curiosity, imagination, and exploration. Could new excavations, non-invasive surveys, or archaeological research reveal hidden chambers, ritual spaces, or civic structures that reshape our understanding of urban life, religion, and trade in one of the world's oldest cities? Which stories, hidden for millennia beneath stone and soil, are still waiting to be uncovered? As the afternoon sun bathes the Barada River and the surrounding hills in golden light, Damascus emerges as both a monument and a mystery. Its visible history tells of power, faith, and culture, yet beneath the surface lie countless untold stories of devotion, ingenuity, and resilience. What secrets remain buried in the foundations, streets, and alleys of this extraordinary city? Which chambers, artifacts, or inscriptions preserve the lives, rituals, and ambitions of those who walked these streets thousands of years ago? In Damascus, as in so many hidden biblical locations, the past endures, layered and waiting for the careful observer to uncover its deepest mysteries. From the bustling streets and ancient alleys of Damascus, our journey moves westward, tracing the ancient trade routes that thread through mountains, valleys, and plains, all the way to the Mediterranean coast, where the historic city of Tyre emerges from the shimmering waters. Perched on a rocky promontory jutting into the sea, Tyre's coastline glistens under the afternoon sun, its harbor still alive with the soft lapping of waves and the faint hum of distant commerce. From above, the city appears as a mosaic of stone streets, sun-baked rooftops, and fragmented ruins. Yet beneath its surface, layers of history stretch back millennia, preserving the stories of sailors, merchants, artisans, and pilgrims who shaped the city's destiny. Tyre's origins trace back to the 3rd millennium BC, when it began as a small coastal settlement. Its strategic position, midway between the mountains of Lebanon and the open Mediterranean, allowed it to flourish as a center of maritime trade, connecting Palestine, Mesopotamia, and the wider ancient world. Excavations reveal remnants of harbors, quays, and warehouses that testify to the city's long-standing economic vitality, yet vast portions of Tyre remain unexamined. Could submerged harbors, buried marketplaces, or forgotten docks preserve artifacts that illuminate ancient trade networks, shipping practices, and the daily rhythms of a city built upon the sea? What secrets lie beneath layers of silt and sediment, waiting to reveal how Tyre's inhabitants sustained a vibrant maritime culture across thousands of years? The city's architecture tells a story of both ingenuity and adaptation. Fortified walls, gates, and towers rise along the coastline. remnants of defensive structures designed to protect against invaders and the unpredictable forces of nature. Some walls date to the Bronze Age, while others bear the marks of later rulers who shaped Tyre across centuries. Could hidden fortifications, tunnels, or chambers beneath these walls reveal how military strategy and urban planning intertwined? Might submerged structures in the harbor preserve evidence of shipbuilding, naval defenses, or ceremonial spaces that have yet to be studied in detail? Tyre was renowned not only for its commerce but for its artistry and craft. The production of the famed Tyrian purple dye, extracted painstakingly from sea snails, was a cornerstone of its economy and a symbol of wealth and status across the ancient world. Could remnants of workshops, vats, or processing facilities remain hidden beneath the city's streets? Might buried artifacts shed light on the complex techniques and trade networks that produced one of antiquity's most coveted commodities? And how did the pursuit of trade and craftsmanship shape the city's social hierarchy, its labor practices, and its cultural identity? Religious life in Tyre adds layers of depth and intrigue. Temples, shrines, and sanctuaries dedicated to deities such as Melkart once dominated the cityscape, drawing pilgrims and devotees from across the region. Archaeologists have uncovered fragments of altars, inscriptions, and cultic objects, yet much of Tyre's sacred topography remains obscured. Could hidden sanctuaries, subterranean chambers, or unexcavated precincts preserve evidence of ritual practice that challenges our understanding of the city's spiritual life? What might we learn about the ways in which religion influenced governance, trade, and daily life in Tyre, shaping the behavior and beliefs of its citizens across centuries? The city's urban fabric offers further enigmas. Narrow lanes wind between clusters of houses, squares, and public spaces, hinting at deliberate planning that balanced defense, commerce, and civic life. Many residential and civic structures remain buried beneath modern streets or rubble. Could these hidden areas preserve artifacts of domestic life, tools of artisans, or inscriptions that reveal civic organization and urban hierarchy? How did ordinary citizens navigate the complex interplay of sacred spaces, marketplaces, and city defenses, and which aspects of their lives are still waiting to be uncovered? Tyre's strategic location exposed it to repeated waves of conquest, yet the city adapted, rebuilt, and endured. Layers of destruction, collapse, and reconstruction appear throughout its archaeological record. Could further excavation reveal evidence of sieges, fires, or natural disasters that reshaped the city? Might skeletal remains, weapon fragments, or traces of fortifications illuminate the human experience of survival, adaptation, and resilience in the face of repeated upheaval? And how did these cycles of destruction and renewal influence Tyre's architectural style, settlement patterns, and social dynamics over millennia? Trade and foreign contact left subtle but telling traces. Pottery, imported wares, inscriptions, and weights hint at extensive networks connecting Tyre with Palestine, Egypt, Anatolia, and Mesopotamia. Could unexcavated warehouses, docks, or merchant quarters preserve evidence of commercial agreements, exchange networks, or logistical strategies that allowed Tyre to thrive as a maritime hub? And what might these discoveries tell us about the mobility of goods, ideas, and people across the ancient Mediterranean world? Speculative interpretations of Tyre's urban and maritime layout suggest additional mysteries. Some scholars propose that street patterns, harbor construction, and temple orientations may have had symbolic or ritual significance. Could unexamined foundations, submerged quays, or hidden platforms preserve traces of cosmological or ceremonial planning? Might buried inscriptions, reliefs, or sculptural fragments reveal the interplay between human ingenuity, sacred ritual, and civic ambition in this storied coastal city? Even the city's surrounding landscape speaks to its hidden history. Rocky promontories, sandy beaches, and fertile plains shaped settlement, agriculture, and maritime activity. Could unexcavated terraces, buried quarries, or hidden pathways provide insight into how Tyre's inhabitants harnessed the land to support urban life, maritime trade, and ritual observance? And how did environmental factors influence the city's long-term resilience and adaptability? Walking through Tyre today, one senses a city of contrasts: monumental temples beside modest homes, bustling streets beside silent ruins, harbor waters reflecting both commerce and history. Each layer, visible or buried, preserves echoes of devotion, trade, governance, and labor, yet countless mysteries remain. What lies beneath the waves and streets, waiting to reveal untold stories of seafaring, worship, and daily life? Which chambers, docks, or artifacts preserve insights into a city that thrived for millennia at the intersection of land, sea, and culture? Tyre, like Damascus and Shechem, reminds us that history is layered, often concealed beneath the familiar. Its streets, fortifications, and coastline are silent witnesses to human endeavor, yet they invite exploration, inquiry, and imagination. Could new excavations, underwater surveys, or non-invasive techniques uncover submerged structures, hidden sanctuaries, or forgotten marketplaces? Which secrets, buried for thousands of years beneath stone, sand, and silt, remain to be discovered, revealing the rhythms of life, labor, and devotion in Tyre across millennia? As the sun sets over the Mediterranean, casting a golden glow on the city's rooftops, fortifications, and harbor, Tyre stands as both a monument and a mystery. Its stones speak of commerce, faith, and resilience, yet beneath the surface, the city guards untold stories, silent witnesses to human ambition, devotion, and ingenuity. What hidden chambers, artifacts, or inscriptions might yet emerge from beneath the waves and streets? And how might these discoveries reshape our understanding of one of the most important maritime cities in the ancient world, a city whose history continues to endure along the coast of Palestine? From the sunlit coastlines of Tyre, where the sea reflects centuries of maritime trade and sacred devotion, our journey continues north along the Mediterranean to another city whose name resonates through millennia: Sidon. Rising gently from the turquoise waters of a sheltered bay, Sidon presents a mosaic of stone streets, terracotta rooftops, and crumbling fortifications, each layer holding fragments of human endeavor and spiritual life. At first glance, the city seems serene, bathed in the warm glow of the afternoon sun, yet beneath its surface lies a complex tapestry of history, myth, and mystery waiting to be discovered. Sidon is one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities in the ancient world, with archaeological evidence tracing settlement to at least 4000 BC. Situated strategically along the trade routes connecting Palestine, Mesopotamia, and Anatolia, Sidon flourished as a maritime hub, linking inland cities to the open Mediterranean. Its harbors, quays, and warehouses hint at centuries of bustling commerce, while narrow lanes and residential terraces whisper of domestic life, artisanal craft, and the daily rhythms of a city built on trade, faith, and resilience. How did Sidon maintain its prominence for thousands of years, despite wars, earthquakes, and shifting empires? What secrets remain buried beneath streets and buildings, waiting to reveal how citizens navigated the challenges of an ever-changing world? The city's harbors are particularly compelling, testaments to Sidon's maritime ingenuity. Submerged quays, ancient docks, and stone piers indicate not only commercial activity, but also technological sophistication. Could underwater surveys reveal remnants of shipbuilding yards, trading posts, or storage facilities? What might these hidden structures tell us about the flow of goods, knowledge, and culture across the ancient Mediterranean? And how did the sea itself shape the city's identity, economy, and spiritual life over the millennia? Sidon's architecture blends defense, ritual, and domestic life. Fortified walls, towers, and gates stand as silent witnesses to sieges, invasions, and periods of prosperity. Yet these defensive structures also provoke questions. Were they purely functional, or did they carry symbolic meaning, signaling authority, divine protection, or communal identity? Could unexcavated foundations conceal hidden chambers, ceremonial platforms, or defensive passages that reveal the strategies of rulers and citizens alike? Might inscriptions or reliefs embedded in walls preserve messages of power, devotion, or diplomacy that remain unread after millennia? Craftsmanship and industry were central to Sidon's renown. The city became famous for glasswork, purple dye, and finely crafted pottery, some of which reached distant shores across the Mediterranean. Could undiscovered workshops, kilns, or storage rooms beneath the city preserve insights into these ancient techniques? What might they reveal about labor, trade, and innovation in a city that balanced artistic mastery with commercial ambition? And how did such industries shape social hierarchies, gender roles, and cultural identity in Sidon, blending craft, economy, and community into a thriving urban tapestry? Religious and ritual life further enriches Sidon's historical landscape. Temples, shrines, and sacred precincts dotted the city, dedicated to deities such as Eshmun, Astarte, and Melkart. Excavations have revealed fragments of altars, inscriptions, and offerings, yet much of the city's sacred geography remains hidden. Could buried sanctuaries or ritual chambers hold further evidence of religious practice, pilgrimage, or ceremonial observance? How might these finds illuminate the intertwining of civic and sacred life, revealing how faith shaped governance, commerce, and social norms? The city's urban layout also presents enigmas. Narrow lanes wind between public squares, residences, and marketplaces, suggesting deliberate urban planning. Yet many areas remain unexcavated or obscured by later construction. Could hidden neighborhoods, basements, or streets preserve traces of domestic life, artisanal work, or civic administration? What insights might these discoveries provide about the lived experience of ordinary citizens, the rhythm of work, worship, and daily life in a city whose prominence extended across millennia? Sidon's location exposed it to both opportunity and conflict. Conquests, sieges, and natural disasters left their marks on the urban fabric. Burn layers, collapsed walls, and destruction deposits appear throughout its archaeological record. Could unexcavated deposits reveal further evidence of these turbulent periods, providing insight into the resilience and adaptability of Sidon's inhabitants? Might skeletal remains, tools, or artifacts preserve human stories of survival, negotiation, and recovery, connecting the distant past with the present landscape? Trade networks left subtle but enduring traces across Sidon. Imported pottery, metalwork, and luxury goods indicate a city deeply connected to Palestine, Egypt, Mesopotamia, and beyond. Could undiscovered warehouses, merchant quarters, or storage facilities provide further evidence of how Sidon managed commerce, logistics, and taxation? And how did these networks influence cultural exchange, technology transfer, and social organization in a city whose reach extended far beyond its Mediterranean shores? Speculative theories of Sidon's sacred and civic planning add an additional layer of mystery. Some scholars suggest that temples, gates, and harbor alignments may encode cosmological, ritual, or symbolic meaning. Could buried precincts, submerged quays, or hidden streets preserve traces of intentional spatial design? Might inscriptions, reliefs, or offerings hint at a conscious blending of urban utility and spiritual expression, revealing an ancient worldview now largely hidden beneath centuries of occupation? Even the surrounding landscape speaks to the city's hidden history. Fertile plains, coastal terraces, and rocky promontories shaped settlement, agriculture, and defense. Could hidden terraces, irrigation channels, or ancient roadways reveal how Sidon's inhabitants harmonized urban life with environmental realities? And how did the city's interaction with its landscape influence trade, ritual, and social organization over millennia? Walking through Sidon today, one senses contrasts everywhere. Monumental temples beside modest homes, bustling streets beside silent ruins, vibrant harbors beside quiet bays. Each layer, visible or buried, preserves echoes of devotion, labor, governance, and commerce, yet countless mysteries remain. What lies beneath streets, houses, and seabeds, waiting to reveal untold stories of faith, craftsmanship, and human ingenuity? Which chambers, workshops, or sanctuaries might illuminate lives long past, offering new understanding of how a city thrived at the intersection of land, sea, and history? Sidon, like Tyre, Damascus, and Shechem, reminds us that history is both revealed and concealed. Its streets, fortifications, and harbors are silent witnesses, yet they invite exploration, imagination, and discovery. Could underwater surveys, excavations, or non-invasive studies uncover structures, ritual spaces, or marketplaces that reshape our understanding of urban life, religion, and commerce in the ancient Mediterranean? Which hidden stories, buried for millennia beneath stone, sand, and silt, still await discovery, ready to speak to us across time? As the sun dips toward the western horizon, painting Sidon's rooftops and harbor waters in shades of gold and rose, the city emerges as both monument and enigma. Its stones speak of trade, devotion, and resilience. Yet beneath the surface, Sidon guards untold stories, silent witnesses to human ingenuity, ritual, and survival. What hidden chambers, workshops, or inscriptions lie beneath its streets and seabed? And how might their discovery deepen our understanding of one of the most remarkable coastal cities in the ancient world, a city whose history endures along the Mediterranean coast of Palestine?